What up, everybody? Welcome back. Today's episode is brought to you by Black Rifle Coffee. Shocker, I know, right? I'm at their website right now. They're having Black Friday stuff, and I'm going to skip over that because Black Friday is over at this point, and it's all about Christmas. It's a few weeks away. I think literally 3. Start thinking about what you want to get the people you care about. Coffee is a great gift. You know, if they drink coffee, it's not going to go bad. They're not going to not use it. I mean, a bag of coffee, well, fuck, depending on who you are, could last a day or it could last a week. Regardless, I think you get the point. Black Rifle Coffee has, in my opinion, I mean, I'm wearing one of their shirts right now. This is one of my old school favorite ones. They have some of the best t-shirts, some of the best branding out there. So you can dive in on the apparel tab. The gear tab is not only stuff that you could drink, but it right here would be a patch or a sticker, thermoses, Yetis, whatever you potentially want. Coffee is, this hopefully surprises nobody, where you would go to get the coffee beans. Okay, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this yet, but I'm going to. The Cleared Hot Coffee is coming back in 2025. And don't nobody tell Evan that I told you that because, well, he said it's going to happen. So I guess you could tell him if you want to. But if you've never had the Cleared Hot blend, it's ridiculously good. I don't know what medium I'm going to use to actually sell it on, but it is going to be back and it's going to be awesome. But until you can actually buy that, if you have friends, family members, loved ones that like coffee, go to blackriflecoffee.com. It's the number one way that you can help support the podcast, other than telling somebody about it or leaving me a review on one of the platforms. Support the brands that make this podcast possible. That's it. My guests today, 2 of them, SSS, also known as Steve Sanders, and Genghis Cohen, not Genghis Khan, even though that's what I want to call him. Cohen, not Khan. It's really close for me, though, so I'm going to call him Genghis Khan. SSS has been on the podcast before twice, and one of my oldest friends. He is a retired Navy SEAL, spent a substantial amount of time at an East Coast command that would be considered a Tier 1 JSOC unit. Highly decorated, Silver Star, 5 Bronze Stars, absolute asshole. And I say that because he's probably the most technically proficient SEAL that I ever served with. He's so fucking disgustingly good at the job, it makes it hard to be around sometimes. He came up here with his business partner in Dark Desert Defense, Genghis. Genghis is the owner of Machine Gun Las Vegas, and they partnered in this training course. Before I get into that, Genghis is a veteran himself. You will notice instantly on the podcast that he has an accent, which is not from Alabama. It is from New Zealand. He's a Kiwi, served in the military in New Zealand, got into rotary wing flying. I think Genghis and I are going to have some adventures as life continues. Came to the United States. Holy shit, this guy is an entrepreneur. Multiple businesses, multiple different genres as well. I mean, we're talking managing nightclubs and strip clubs to going into the gold and diamond business in Africa. I mean, not exactly the same thing for sure. Then coming back over, getting into the gun range business. It's wild. We did talk about what Dark Desert Defense offers, and they offer firearms training. Steve and Genghis did a good job describing that. But what I'll say to you is this. It's not cheap, and it shouldn't be cheap, and it's not a large group class because the training that they're trying to offer, the training that they are offering, it takes time, and you need to invest in your student, and the student needs to invest in the instructor as well because these things are designed to take life, and they should be taken seriously. And also people who are looking for instruction, they need to be careful who they take that instruction from because not all trainers and coaches are created equal. They talked about on the show potentially running some courses up here in Montana. I will harass them to make sure that those courses are online. And so hopefully if you are interested in visiting Montana and sharpening your game from a weapons perspective, you could come up to Montana and do so. Episode number 364 with SSS and Genghis. Enjoy.
Okay, got the red smoke. Gun run, north and south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke.
Okay, copy. West of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now.
Come on with it, baby. Give it to me. I need it. You're cleared hot.
Copy, cleared hot.
What do you fuckers want to talk about?
Dark Desert.
Dark Desert Defense. Do you want to talk about how like poor of a name that is? Where do you want to begin? Dude, as far as I know what it's. I know what I like. I like the word, the letter D. Let's put 3 of those in our name, and then figure it out backwards. Dickless Dark Desert. No, that doesn't work. Dark Desert what? Dark Desert dongs.
And truthness, like I was telling him, we were having some stupid conversation about what's better than a girl with a set of double Ds, and we're like, a girl with a set of triple Ds, and that's how we sort of.
I feel like at some scale in that though, it becomes problematic.
Yeah,
The
You know what
name?
I mean? No, double Ds versus like just pure size. The management issue of.
Yeah, no. I mean,
Michael's already lost because he's just like, I've never seen any of those. But no, I mean, like, one's too big. I'm sure ladies feel the same thing. Like,
oh yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't think they want something that's the length of this fucking microphone arm.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
only for like a badge on their fucking Girl Scout outfit.
I suppose. No, branding's important. You got to have. So, not Riley, but Tyler started 2 businesses, and the only thing I did was help him with the names. So he has Peeping Tom Windows. He does window cleaning, and then Epstein's Christmas lights because they're not going to hang themselves.
No way.
Yeah, and he fucking slays.
So it's so funny because
They're not going to hang themselves.
we were having this whole conversation.
That's fucking
about that.
hilarious.
Like this branding that's to the point of being offensive. It's like this T-shirt. Like when I was walking through the thing, like I was walking through your
You got to talk into the mic.
Sorry, like
Yep.
I didn't even.
No, like not
recording.
that crazy. We're always
Yeah.
recording.
But like you know, I could have sold it 5 times over just walking to the bathroom when we're at breakfast.
You
Like,
will instantly know, like when he knocks on somebody's door and says, "Hey, I'm Tyler with Peeping Tom Windows." They're either going to light up like a Christmas tree,
Yeah.
or they're going to tell you to get the fuck off
Yeah,
their property.
or mace 'em.
So
Yeah.
you're very clear. Is this your target demographic?
Yeah.
And yeah, dude, he made like $40,000 over the summer doing windows.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah, he had Michael working for him,
Wow. That's freaking awesome, man.
which is embarrassing given that Michael's older, more distinguished in his career.
Yeah.
So how'd you land on Dark Desert Defense?
Good question. I think we spent what 2 or 3 months. First of all, coming up with the name, and then secondly, I think the most difficult part was coming up with the logo. But because we do not like to have any sort of like military, we're not out on the range with cargo pants on and 511 out. We're not.
Why?
Just because it's.
What's wrong with those people? Why are you being so judgy?
I'm not. I'm just. Well, first I want to give. I want to give a shout out to 511. No, no, but like because a lot of people, I think in our experience, they're once you get into the whole military thing, these people start getting intimidated by it because people are usually our demographic. A lot of that go through our course, they are already intimidated by the guns themselves. So it wasn't going to make it feel like they're out on the range with, a couple of drill instructors. So our training style is very laid back and chill. But our logo, like I think I'm just like Genghis, I'm sure, got so many compliments just on the logo. Because my truck is logoed out. It's all, I've got, multicam wrapping, but everybody's like, dude, that logo is so cool. And that's why we decided, hey, we're going to start selling merch.
Con, have you ever seen pictures of the Shaggin' Wagon? This is the vehicle that Steve had when I met him. Have you?
No.
Oh, yeah, you saw it, my lower dually.
Oh yeah, that thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and he called the Shaggin' Wagon.
We used to drive that thing straight to Starbucks for iced mochas. Back in like 02, 03.
And coffee cake, of course.
Yeah.
Crumb cake.
Crumb cake, yeah. Always had.
Why did we do that?
I don't know.
I know I was just starting to drink coffee then.
Always,
it was awesome.
we always had crumb cake, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
It was crumb cake. Coffee crumble cake.
And we ate it super weird too. We always ate it out of the bag, like usually everybody does. And yeah, but we'd always go there post workout. Mm-hmm. Post workout, we go in there and get our, lattes,
Protein snacks.
Lattes, yeah, and some coffee cake.
Yeah, that's the Steve that I first met. The first time we rode together, looking at this truck, like, what the fuck is this thing?
Because like I'm East Coast, right? East Coast, and
dude, have you seen his new truck?
Yeah, you've seen it
With the 26-inch dually wheels.
No, you and I both kind of go through trucks at a rapid pace, so I don't really know what you're on at this point. I might have seen it.
It's a 21 F450 dually on 26s, 26-inch wheels, icon suspension, totally deleted. The trucks
I understood F450. All the rest, you know this about me. I'm like, what?
The trucks are rockets.
Are 26-inch tires big?
The wheels are 26s.
Is that good or bad?
So on your truck, they're probably either 18 or 20s.
The rim or the wheel?
The rim.
Yeah,
same thing.
It has the ride of a shopping cart.
No, it does not. It's on icon, bro.
Dude, there's a reason your son always wants to ride with me out to the ranch.
No. Just because he doesn't want to talk to me anymore.
Do you think the era of the military-based firearms instructor is coming to an end?
Yes.
Wait, one more time that question?
So how long do you think people are going to be able to trade on the GWAT is a better way to describe that question? Not that they shouldn't. I believe people's experiences are to do with what they want to do. But in 2035, are people still going to give a fuck about anything that we did in 2005 or want to see guys wearing multicam and the plate carriers? Or are you finding people who just want to be safe, current, and competent with firearms?
That's what we're finding.
Yeah.
A lot of our clients come to us because they are, we were just talking about this morning, especially, women come in, they're like, hey, my husband and boyfriend's, I live alone, I'm alone a lot, he's traveling, and, lately, our current events, people just aren't safe, and they don't feel safe, and they're like, hey, I want to, it's funny because I want to get a pistol for home defense, and our first things out of our mouths are, don't get a pistol, get a shotgun. But if you do want to get a pistol, if you want to go into concealed carry, then you can go through a pistol course, and then we will make you competent enough to, number one, carry concealed, safely, and then number two, use it for home defense as well. But a lot of our clientele are women.
Yeah,
so
we get a lot of women. I think the big thing is at least what we found when training with the really military guys is, there's that old story of the gun store commando. You go into a gun store and there's this guy who has never seen a gym in his life, but he's dressed up like he thinks he just came out of Baghdad or Iraq. And I think
Baghdad 2006 wants its pants back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think
DRMO bin, just fucking head to toe.
Totally.
So I think that just intimidates a lot of people, right? And so one of the things I love about working with Steve in particular is, dude, we'll rock out there and Steve's got flip flops on and shorts.
I've experienced this,
but he can shoot the shit out of anyone. He so when you
and a cowboy hat.
And a cowboy hat. And when you,
I don't like that part of it.
when you sort
Assless
of
chaps.
show up like that, like people just, it brings the whole level, because they're stressed out already. I mean, it's so funny. We have the gun sitting on the table, and you can just see the fear in their eyes of like,
It's like a pile of rattlesnakes.
Yeah, yeah, that's the best way to put it.
Which is wild because it would sit there on the table harming nobody until it rusted to the point where it wouldn't function anymore.
Right.
But it scares the ever-living shit out of people.
Yeah.
And to go back to the military training, I mean, the vast majority of the training that we received has no applicability whatsoever for 99.9999999% of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I see some of these courses where they try to, it's basic knowledge, and they're like, all right, cool, we're going to go do room clearance. I'm like, that's going to be spicy.
Exactly.
Let's go live.
So our beginner, we basically have, our beginner course is basically level one pistol, right? And it's very on our website, and it covers all the course objectives, but it's very simple. And we're not teaching room clearance, but at the end of the course, like we just did one last weekend, we take somebody that's never shot a gun before, and at the end of the second day, they're moving and shooting.
Yeah,
Still.
you're talking about probably like
just
two-dimensionally, just laterally forward and back. Yeah, totally.
Just basically forward. That's it. Just walking forward and shooting, and then they're like, wow. So we basically take somebody that has never shot a gun before, and by the end of the second day, they're moving and shooting, and they're blown away. And we go through draws, everything. So the amount of information they get, I mean, they're drinking out of a fire hose the entire time, and people are just, sometimes they're overwhelmed, and which is a good thing because we want people to stay like focused and sharp, and they really never nobody ever comes to our course and ever gets comfortable. They're always, because once we get people going through and they're start proficient, you know, you can start like, all right, this is what we're going to do now. This is what we're going to do now. We just start adding.
All you even need to do for most people is like, let me introduce you to Mr. Shot Timer.
Oh, we do.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly.
You thought you were doing good? Let me introduce you to Mr. And you're about to fall a fucking apart.
You know, we call it the automatic fuck-up device.
Yeah.
You know? And so we introduce people to that like halfway through the first day. Just because neither one of us want to sit there and talk that much anyway, because we're already sick of listening to us talk. So we introduce a shot timer, and that's what we do. Is like, all right, just mind you, this isn't a speed drill. We're just using it to get you kind of like, you know, used to it. Yeah. So because the second day, now we're doing time drills with them. So, but it's a lot of information. In this last class we just did, we had 7 people in it, and yeah, I'm usually surprised at how far we can get. Especially, we had like a legit group of people that had never touched a gun before.
You'll probably be able to get them farther than people who already have.
Exactly.
Yeah, the number one enemy is ego, especially with like guys will show up and they're like, "I'm a man, I know how to shoot a gun." Like,
yeah.
Dude, how often do we see that teaching free fall together? You'd get somebody who had like 50 to 100 jumps. You're like, "Fuck." Okay, I need you to actually unwind what you have been doing because you're doing it wrong. Yeah. And it's even though they haven't been doing it wrong for that long, it has its hooks in.
Yep.
And it's hard to get that shit out of there.
Yeah. I remember when I was in the military, one of the things that the DS always used to say to me, "It's so much easier to teach a good habit than to unteach a bad one," right? So, you know, that's why honestly I love it when people come in and they're scared, but I've never touched a gun before, and I'm like, great,
perfect,
because you're not going to have any bad habits, so we can sort of start teaching you the good ones, and we don't have to unlearn the bad ones.
Yeah,
and
I like the shotgun for home defense as well.
Yeah.
Do you guys teach them the advanced technique? If they hear anything, just smoke around into the ceiling, just in case.
Yeah,
I call it the flush out move. And then you listen.
As long as you know a good drywall guy.
Yeah.
You know.
And you don't live on the bottom floor of a 2-story apartment.
It's like grouse hunting. You got to flush them out. You got to see if anybody's hiding on you.
Yeah, exactly. Recon by fire.
Yeah, totally.
Recon by fire.
Yeah.
I'm coming out.
Hey, Steve, pull that mic a little bit closer.
Okay.
Yeah, fucking take that.
But yeah, you know, it's like we
check.
I tell you to lower the seat, but you're already so tiny anyway. I don't want to make you look like a midget. It's a fucking micro seal.
Yeah.
Put some weight on, dude.
It doesn't help you with height.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Nobody's ever accused me of being tall, that's for sure.
That is true. Genghis, how'd you find your way to the U.S.? We got to tell your origin story. For the listeners, let's just assume your last name's Khan.
Yeah, okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'll live with that.
All right.
That's his alias.
So I was in the New Zealand military, and they sent me
Born and raised in New Zealand?
born and raised in New Zealand. Yeah.
What's military service look like there? Is it kind of like a common thing, an uncommon thing?
Kind of an uncommon thing. I mean, our army, so we can barely field a soccer team. You know, our army's so small, and our defence force is small. but we actually work a lot with US, Australian, British. You know, we're a Commonwealth
Five Eyes
country.
countries, yep.
Yeah. So we're a Commonwealth country. So a lot of our guys will train, you know, in different parts of the world. So I got on this course to come to the US, and I was in the US for a little while, and I did some courses here, and I just really liked it, and went back, spent a little bit more time in the military there, and I was like, I'm just going to go check out America, and sort of showed up with a backpack and started bartending and going to college, and that's sort of how I started going here, and then sort of went down the road. I sort of didn't do a lot of military stuff for a while, went down the road of, you know, I worked for casinos and hotels in Las Vegas, and, you know, had strip clubs and nightclubs and restaurants, and did a whole bunch of stuff that was non-military related.
I feel like you saw a wild amount of shit.
Yeah.
I was going to say, even in the hotel business, what is the strip club business like?
You
Let's
know,
spend 2 hours talking about that.
It's funny. I met a guy the other day who's a professor at the University of Connecticut, and he's actually working with me to write a book about strip clubs, because he specifically works for entrepreneurs, teaching them business strategy. Mm-hmm. And we were talking for about an hour, and he's like, I want you to write a book with me about the lessons learned on managing people in a business from the point of view of someone owning and operating a strip club. So we're calling, the name of the book's going to be called Herding Bipolar Cats. And it's really just,
Yes.
I had 1,600 girls working for me at the time.
What?
Yeah, because they roll in and they roll out, So
how does the economics of that work? Is this? I mean, I'm assuming this is a 1099 type thing.
yeah, 1099. But
Are you just getting a scrape of what they bring in? Do you pay them? How does this work?
no, so the way it works is that the girls pay to work there, right?
Okay.
So they pay you to work there. It's called a stage fee or house fee, and then actually there's a house fee. So that's what they pay to sort of work there. And then if they don't want to have to go on stage, then they pay a stage fee as well.
Okay.
And then usually the customers pay to come in the front door, and then of course you make money off the drinks. And then most customers will pay the girls with a credit card. So the way that works is that, you know, the club usually charges 10 to 15% surcharge on a credit card transaction.
Strong.
Right. Yeah. But guys pay
That's
it.
a nice scrape.
You know, when they got tits in their face and they're drunk and
$300 Bud Light.
yeah.
She loves me. She loves me.
Dude, I
Here's my card. Let it ride.
I literally had a 45-minute calm debate with Quentin Tarantino because he brought, I don't know, like 30 lesbians into the club and took the whole VIP room and had this monster bar tab. And he said, look, I will pay for everything, but I am not paying $12 for a Diet Coke. I'm like, dude, you're in the champagne room. Like, it is what it is.
It's not 15.
And it was actually quite interesting. At the end, I said, okay, if I take care of the 6 $12 Diet Cokes, will you pay the bill? Yep, no problem. And
What?
Yeah, yeah.
I ran into him one time
He's an interesting cat.
at a Marriott bar in like just north of Santa Barbara. I said nothing to him because he was sitting in at the bar on the far edge, appearing to have a pretty shitty night, or maybe that's just his resting bitch face.
Yeah.
But I rolled in there and I think I was ordering some food to go, and I looked at him like, "That's fucking Quentin Tarantino." Okay, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
That's my Quentin Tarantino story. Thank you for being a part of my TED Talk.
Good talk.
No, but it's so
30 lesbians. That's how he's rolling.
it was some sort of movie project he was working on, because then we sort of started talking about what he was doing in Vegas and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was interesting. I mean, I got so many stories, dude. I mean,
But that's a tremendous amount of people working for you.
so you got to remember, at any one time, the max on the floor would maybe be 180 girls. So you've got 1,600.
180 on the floor?
Yeah, between 150,
How
180.
big was this place?
Not big, dude. It was only 5,000 square feet. I mean, you go to a place like some of the big clubs in Vegas, like Sapphires and Rhino, there's 1,000 girls rolling through there in a day. Because don't forget, it's 24 hours. So you got 2 shifts, and they can have
That doesn't even fucking compute.
300 to 400 girls on the floor. So if you have 3 shifts, you know, on a busy, like if it's Super Bowl weekend or like the F1 now.
Yeah.
I mean, those.
Is that counting like the servers and?
No, that's just dancers.
Jeez.
Yeah.
What would a high-end earner on a peak like F1 day? What are we looking at take home?
I had girls that worked for me that made over $1 million a year.
What?
I had girls that worked for me that made over $1 million a
Holy
year.
Shit.
yeah.
I had a girl that worked for me, and she, super smart Korean lady. She would she'd make money at the club, and then she'd put it away, and then she'd buy real estate. She was still working at the club, and her real estate portfolio was over $20 million. And I go, "Why are you still at the club?" And she goes, "I've been working here for 18 years." She's like, what do you want me to, this is my life. These are all my friends, so they just stayed working there.
We're not in the right line of business.
Oh, dude, but it's
I don't know if there's a male version of this, but I'm a little bit let down. Not that I have the fucking self-confidence to go do that, but I'm like, a fucking $1 million a year? God damn.
yeah, because
You go try out for Thunder from Down Under or whatever.
they would just, it's really interesting. Like, probably my most successful girls really never took their clothes off. It's all about talking.
What?
Yeah. It's a really, it's interesting. I have a friend who's very big in the OnlyFans business, and only 30% of it has anything to do with sexual stuff. The rest of it's just, what are you doing? Hey, can you send me $5 for a coffee? Yeah. And then, but she's got 100 guys sending her $5 for a coffee that morning. So she's drinking one coffee, but she's getting 500. It's a lot about talking and feeling they're part of the person's life. It's a really
So it's a scam.
I don't know
Not
if it's
for
a
the guy.
scam. I think that's how detached our society is
Yeah.
from actual relationships.
Yeah.
With people sitting down. I don't know. How old are your kids now?
22, 17, and 4.
So you're probably seeing it more in the. So Julie's my youngest, 16. She is more comfortable communicating with this between the human being than by the way I'm more comfortable communicating, which is by putting this down and just fucking bullshitting for hours. For sure, yeah. So there's that aspect of it. But man, there's fucking lonely people out there. First off, I've never been on OnlyFans. Here's my thing. Do whatever the fuck you want to do. As long as it's consenting adults, I don't care.
Right.
If you're like Michael and you want to fucking fist other dudes while eating jelly beans, go ahead. But as long as you're not hurting somebody and it's consensual, whatever. I don't understand the OnlyFans thing at all. I don't fucking get it.
It's incredible, man. I know some people that are working the tech side of it, so the back end side of it. The numbers they throw at me are just,
I've seen people making millions.
To give you an idea, a number that was given to me.
What?
I don't actually know how the site works, so I don't know if it's live interaction or
it's live and everything else. But like this friend of mine that works in the back end of the industry, like the technical side of it.
Pun intended.
Yeah. He was totally intended. He was telling me that OnlyFans paid out more money to content creators than the NBA paid out to all the players in the NBA. Which is a big number. Yeah. The numbers are staggering. Because I didn't understand how, I didn't really understand the financial model, but when I sort of became friends with these guys, they helped me understand the financial model.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Because it's exponential, right? So one of the things that really hit the strip club business was OnlyFans. Because these girls are like, well, I got to go into the club, I got to pay to be in the club, I got to do my hair, I got to do my makeup, I got to ask, 20, 30 guys to give them a dance, and then one guy's, and then I got to work that guy to get him into 3 for $100 room or into the VIP room, and then I can just set up the spare room in my house with a couple of cameras, and set up this OnlyFans, and then
buy a fucking Bugatti.
Yeah.
What's the craziest thing you ever saw happen in a strip club?
Dude, that's a hard question.
Gunfight?
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
I know. I was like, all right, that's pretty crazy.
I mean,
I want to see that.
The craziest thing, without mentioning names.
I mean, you can if you want to. It's just the internet.
Yeah. I don't want to get sued.
Somebody's gonna
get sued, but
somebody's gonna find it.
A very famous female personality, celebrity personality. So let's just say this person's name is, I don't know, Susan. So I get a call from my security and they go, there's someone passed out in the woman's bathroom. I said, well, pick them up and just take them out. No, they're passed out in a cubicle and the cubicle's locked. It's like, fuck. Okay. So I walk in there and I say,
there's no key,
and I say, okay, who is it? Because I thought it was one of the dancers, right? Because we don't have a lot of girls in the club.
So this thing's completely contained.
Yeah, it's like in a cubicle in the woman's bathroom.
Like you can't jump over the top or anything.
No, you can.
Oh,
but I'm like, so I go into the woman's bathroom and there's just a set of girls' legs out the bottom of the stall.
Fuck yeah, it's a little nap.
Yeah,
I get it.
And I'm like, I said, who is it? And they said Susan, which if I'd used the name, everybody would know who it is. Just a very famous celebrity. And I'm like, I don't remember that name as a dancer. Which one? Because we have 3 dancers with that name, I believe. And he goes, no, it's the one. And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, is she here by herself? No, she's here with a bodyguard. Actually, she's here with 2 bodyguards. I'm like, well, where the fuck are her bodyguards? They're in the VIP room. Well, fucking go get the bodyguards.
Yeah.
And first
do
of all,
your job, handle your shit.
Yeah, go get the bodyguards. Because of course, imagine a celebrity passed out in a stripper's bathroom with 20 strippers with their phones out. So
that's going to hit the old intranet.
Yeah, this is going to be a disaster, right? So I'm like trying to cover this. I'm trying to keep this down so no one can see what the fuck's going on. My lead security guy comes back. He goes, he wanted to know if he needs to come now. I'm like, yeah, he fucking needs to come now. She's unconscious wrapped around a toilet. What's he doing? And he goes, well, he's paid a girl for an hour and he's still got 20 minutes to go. I'm like, well, you know what? She will probably reimburse him for the 20 minutes of his hour.
Well, at this point, he's fired.
Yeah, rather than this. So sure as shit, they come rolling in and wrap this girl up.
Did they just drag the feet out from underneath the stall?
Grabbed the feet, pulled her out from underneath the stall.
Nice head crack on the way down.
I actually said to him, because they started doing this, like, stop. I'm like, everyone out of the restroom. And, all this all the strippers like, why wouldn't we get out of the goddamn restaurant?
You couldn't get the door open?
No, well, no, dude, it's like from the inside. And someone said, why don't you kick the door open? I'm like, no, you're not breaking my fucking door. So they just...
Or smacking the person in the face.
And she's literally lying on the floor.
I mean, you could have, like, jumped up over the top with your hand. You could have commandoed underneath and, like, opened it.
I was way more worried about 30 strippers with cell phones.
So you're basically just trying to get her the fuck out of there.
I'm trying to get the hell out of there. Because I'm just, in my mind, we're going to get sued. Like, we're going to be all over the internet. Like, this is going to be horrible.
Might be good advertising.
Maybe, I don't know. But so, sure enough, the security dragged her out, threw them over her shoulder, and then he starts to walk out the front of the club. Like, it's a Saturday night. I'm like...
This is day one shit. You need to go out the back door.
I'm like, out the back
Those
door,
guys are
dude.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean...
Most celebrity bodyguards have, from my understanding, would be the polite way to put this, they're not always the top shelf choice.
Yeah.
With experience and background.
This was one of those celebrities that just hires guys that can eclipse the sun.
Oh, so massive black dudes.
Yeah, but absolutely worthless.
Yeah.
You know, they're very intimidating to most people.
Yeah.
But like I always know someone knows security when their security guy is like, 5'8", slim guy, very
Looks like
unassuming.
Jason Statham.
That's
Hey, mate.
that's
Especially the accent.
That's
He
the
knows
dude
about
you
this.
have to be like. That's the dude
got
you
the
have to be
accent, he knows
worried
about
of. You know. But yeah, that's just one of like. I could tell a million stories. Like,
Were there gunfights in the strip club?
so this is a true. So one time
Do you guys have metal detectors?
No, but I think they have them now, but we didn't. But there was one time a famous rapper came to my club, and we had this. Call it racist or not, but it is what it is. We didn't play a lot of hip hop music at the club because it just doesn't work. Just reality. I had a very famous rapper come to the club with this big party bus.
You play a lot of like Nickelback and stuff, right?
Yeah, that's what we played. A lot of So I said to him, actually, it's not true. We did play hip hop music, but we're just really tough on the door. Like, you have to be tough on the door there because things can turn bad real quick. So anyway, like they call me to the front door. I go rocking up to the front door, and this guy goes to me. He's like, yeah, the celebrity, the famous rapper. He's like, yeah, what kind of music do you guys play here? And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. I'll give you guys $20,000 right now just to play hip hop for the rest of the night. I'm like, no. He goes, dude, I got a bus full of, 20 guys. We're going to come in. And no, sorry, man, we're not going to do that. So they went to another club in Vegas, and it ended up that there was a gunfight and a security guy got shot. One of their bouncers got shot at the other club. It's
Damn.
yeah. It's and there's this whole underworld, like people don't realize there's this whole underworld. Like when you go to Vegas and you get in a cab, that cab driver is getting paid $30 for up to $70 for every person in that cab. So a limo rolls up with 10 guys, he's getting $700 cash from the club.
Oh.
So in 1 year we paid
Really?
1 year I paid up $3.5 million in cash to taxi drivers and limo drivers. So
if they hop in and say, take me to a strip club, you're paying them to bring them to your establishment.
Yep. Yeah. Oh. And that's so
Things I've never thought about.
What if they say, take me to, whatever place? They still
Say
get
they have a
paid?
particular...
No, they'll divert you. So yeah, it's a big deal. So like
So if you're like, take me to this place and you end up at another place?
Yeah. Oh, dude, they're some of those in the old days. At least the cab drivers were relentless. Like if you're paying $70 and I'm paying $50 a head, like you're going to be the busy guy. And someone gets in a taxi to come to my club, they'll go, no, it burnt down. It's a gay club. Doesn't exist anymore.
It burnt down.
I don't know where it is. And
They just rated it. Yeah.
Or I won't charge you a cab fare because I want you guys to have a good time to go to this other club. But he's taking you for.
I never even thought about that.
I know, man.
It's
That's
this whole
underground.
this whole underground thing of the way that the strip clubs work there. And
How much do you spend per day on, like, Clorox? At a place like that.
it's
Do you just do like misting foam that comes down? Do you get in there with fucking chem bio?
yeah. You know what? It's funny. Like people think that strip clubs are like these super dirty, sleazy places, and some are, but the majority. I mean, because it's super regulated. Like getting an adult use license in Las Vegas. It's not quite as bad as getting a gaming license.
Does that mean a strip club license?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they call it a cabaret license. But to get it, it's really tough. Like, and it's and Vice and Metro, the police are always in there doing sting operations, solicitation of prostitution, like all that kind of stuff. So they're, I mean, there's shit that happens in strip clubs, But honestly, that same shit happens in nightclubs in Vegas.
For sure.
And way more of that shit happens in high roller rooms. I mean, it's just, you know, Vegas is what Vegas is. I mean, I used to work at a hotel casino. I've worked at a few of them, but, you know, where the prostitutes walk in and, like, the security guy's like, hey, Susan, how's it going? Hi, Ken, how are you? How are the kids? Oh, they're good. How about you? They're good. Okay, see you later. Like, it, you know, it just, it's, they can't be overt about it. But yeah, it happens. And it's a whole, you know, I just thought, like, the most successful girls that work for me were usually psychology, people with master's degrees in psychology. I had some PhDs in psychology. I had some sociology PhDs, and they just knew how to. And I kind of ran it a little bit like the military. So I had like 4 or 5 girls that were like my unit commanders. And I wouldn't tell all the girls what had to happen. I'd just tell those 4 girls. And, like, I wouldn't charge them a house fee. And, like, you know, they might be able to, they get a tall locker in the locker room instead of a short one. So I'd take care of them. And then they would disseminate the information. And they were literally like, you know, they were like NCOs. And they ruled their little unit of girls, you know, and they made sure everybody made money, and they made sure no one ripped anybody off, and they made sure no one was dealing drugs and all that kind of stuff. Fuck. Yeah, I ran it just like a military unit.
Wow. Why'd you decide to get out of that particular line of
business?
business?
Managing those girls.
Oh, it'd be a nightmare.
That's why it's called like herding bipolar cats, dude. It is like the
bipolar cat.
Like you just like people would come to me, man, you have the best job in the world, because everybody thinks like you're just sitting in the office getting blowjobs all night.
Is that not the case?
No. You, like, dude, the number of times I literally had to run into the dancers' dressing room and literally grab naked women and pull them off other naked women because
they're in
they
there
were
just fighting.
Oh my god.
How was their striking? How was their stand-up?
It was all nails and hair. Like if nails and hair pulling could be turned into a martial art, like they could all be black belts. Yeah, unreal.
Just ripping extensions.
And like
out.
I'm like, you know, I'm 6'3" and 240, and I'm like holding this little 5 foot 210-pound dripping wet girl.
Tasmanian devil, though.
Yeah. It's like crazy shit, you know, and so
that happened a lot.
Oh, dude. They would always get in fights. Like there'd always be fights. Or I remember one time I get called, Genghis, back door. And like when they say that, I'm like, oh, are we getting robbed? Because we have cash at the back door and shit. Nope. It's one of my strippers on the hood of a taxi cab with her heel smashing because the taxi cab driver pissed her off. And she's smashing. This taxi cab driver's like shitting himself, and this little 5 foot, 110-pound dripping wet stripper's like on there driving her heel through the windshield of his car. Like, if you could figure out how to maybe...
I want to see that. That would be...
Like, there'd be a killer, like, unit to, like, drop in somewhere to kill people, because they've all got the killer instinct. I'll tell you right now. Like, you don't have to teach them to be killers. You just have to kind of manage them, but, yeah.
What would you estimate as the average time in that occupation?
I had a mother-daughter working for me.
Oh, boy.
So I had a daughter...
I don't know how I feel about that.
Dude, you know what's weird? Like, we at one point, we had a midget working there.
Oh boy,
they are they make so much money. Like for any
I'm almost afraid to ask questions.
For any,
let's not go down that road.
For any I don't know what the politically correct term is, but dwarf or midget who's thinking about getting into the stripper business, you will make a fortune. Yeah, it's such a novelty. You know, I mean,
what?
Oh yeah. And the shit I used to have to do.
I know.
Like we used to have to. Yeah, you do like make a fortune, like. You know, and then when the girls come to do auditions, we'd like.
I don't think midget is politically correct either.
Sorry, Steve.
Little people.
Yeah, the little people.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But yeah,
I heard that on a movie.
Yeah, it was just like a whole different world. You know,
might have been Lebowski.
You know, like I would have to. I remember I was when I first started there. You know, because I came from a corporate world, so I was working for a large corporation in a hotel casino, running nightclubs for them, and I kind of. Through a series of funny stories, I got enticed into this strip club business. It had nothing to do with the women. It actually had to do with just the owner was super cool, and you know, it was a long story. But when I first started, like the girls would come in the day and they'd audition, right? So it's the only job I've ever had in my life where a legitimate part of the job interview is, okay, sweetheart, you got to take your top off. I was just, because that's a legitimate part of the job.
Yeah.
And we would like the girls would come in, they'd get on stage, they'd do this like little pole dance, they'd take their top off, and we go, okay, you're good, or okay, no good, oh, you can't come back. And I never forget, I had this girl come in, and she goes, I'm kind of new to the pole, but I've been practicing a lot, so I'm not perfect at it. And I'm like,
how did you not start laughing immediately?
Well, I was like,
Andy and I are like, wait, you're new to the pole? First of all, what are we talking about?
I didn't like, okay, so I'm like, I'm new. I'd only been there a few months, so I was like, I didn't know where this was going. And I'm like, okay, sweetheart, yeah, that's fine, don't be nervous, it's cool. She goes, okay, well, I'm just going to get ready and I'll do my routine. She goes, but if it's not quite right, I promise you I'll practice and get it better. I'm like, okay. She fucking walks out of the room, comes back in. She's got a full fucking motorcycle helmet on.
What?
And I'm
Safety
like,
first.
Yeah, safety first. And I'm like looking at her, and now I'm trying not
She's
to laugh.
protecting her head for the potential fall.
Sure as shit.
Safety first.
Sure as shit. She does this whole routine, slides down the pole, cracks her head on the stage. If she hadn't been wearing the helmet, she probably would have knocked herself out. And I said, well, you know what?
Good call.
And I said to her, you're hired because at least you had the smarts to think of wearing a crash helmet. And that girl actually ended up working. She was still working there when I left. But yeah, I was just like, so many interesting people, man.
But a couple of years, would they, if they got in that line of work and they were making money, would they stay for a really long
30
time?
30 years.
Jesus.
30?
Yeah. I had girls working for me that were, the mother-daughter, I think the mother, Asian mother-daughter, I think the mother, this is going to sound, it's kind of hard to believe. I think she was 60. And I swear to God, she had the body of like a 25-year-old. It was she was like a genetic freak. Like if her and her daughter danced together, you would think they were almost twins. Yeah.
Wow.
That likely probably get us removed from all platforms right there.
Yeah, but so I know girls that work, I know girls that work for 25 years in the strip club business. And they ended up with, that one that had that massive real estate portfolio. Yeah. But the smart ones would have, 10, 15 homes, all paid for, generating, they'd invested in the stock market wisely. They had side businesses going, so a lot of them actually did really, really well out of it. There's a lot. You would be amazed how many female lawyers and doctors and professionals put themselves through school or paid to put themselves through school through working in a strip club.
Michael. Are you 23 or 24?
25.
Okay. Have you ever been to a strip club?
Nope.
I mean,
if you come to Vegas, you will.
Do you have any desire to go to one?
Not particularly.
After these stories?
I mean, it sounds really exciting.
Does your generation talk about strip clubs at all?
Not really.
First time I ever went to a strip club, I had no choice. I was put in a Navy fucking 12-pack van, and that's where it went, and I was literally carried inside of it. The night that I pulled the fucking knife on the guy, the first time I lost my trident, we started off at a strip club at like 10 a.m. in Tucson. It was fucking rough.
Wait, the first time you lost your trident?
Yeah.
What?
You've known me a long time. You didn't know that? Downtown Tucson, I pulled a knife on the bouncer, and then I ran away from the cop cars and helicopter.
No, I don't recall. No, that sounds like a fun story. Were you in gold or?
Oh no, I was at Team 5. I was in my first platoon after having received my trident.
Oh,
yeah,
new guy.
First trip.
It's a good new guy move.
First trip after receiving my trident, all that shit went down, and my CO just slides a fucking pair of scissors across the desk because I had just gotten the patch put on my uniform. He goes, "Yeah, why don't you go ahead and cut that right off?" Yeah. Are strip clubs even a thing for your generation?
Now that I'm thinking about it, I do have a really good friend that does like strip clubs.
Does he live here?
No.
I was going to say, are there even strip clubs in Montana?
Not in Kalispell. I think there's one in Missoula,
that sounds
probably
dodgy.
Bozeman and Billings. But I don't know how much I would trust those.
Road
What's
trip?
that supposed to mean?
Yeah, we could go.
I'll give you a $300 stipend, and I'll drive you there.
I may not spend it at the strip club, but if you want to give me $300, I'll go there with you.
The requirement is you leave with no money.
Leave the strip club or leave Missoula?
Strip club.
Okay.
I'm just curious if it's still a thing. Like my introduction to it, like I said, I had no choice whatsoever.
Yeah.
It was just part of the group of guys, literally in a Navy fucking 12-pack Econoline van, and that's where we ended up getting
White.
out. Totally 100% white, yeah. And then we all had
Govy plates.
Yeah, and a huge van fight on the way home from that. Oh, yeah. People choking each other out with fucking seatbelts. And
Dude, the van fights, like we would, in sniper school.
Yeah.
Dude, we leave Atterbury and go up to Indiana on the weekend, Indianapolis, and, go bar hopping and just everybody get hammered. And we had during sniper school, they have a new guy come up. He's like the driver. He makes food. He's like a new guy at whatever, SEAL Team 2, 8, whatever. And we'd all jump in the same thing, 12-pack van, and go up there and just, party all night. And then all get in the pellet, like, all right, exfil, we're out of here at 2 o'clock, exfil. Get in the van, and it's like 45-minute drive at least back to Atterbury, and just the van fights were just ridiculous.
We're talking about legitimate caged animals in a fucking moving Ford van.
With over the seats,
knockdown, drag out, fucking beating the shit out of your friends. Yeah. Legitimately, seatbelts wrapped around fucking necks. And
oh yeah, yeah.
Oh god, yeah. Those were hard to explain sometimes on the damage on those vehicles.
And it was like it was fighting, but it wasn't. It was like wrestling, but sometimes of course
there's a little escalation on one side, so somebody else bumps it up a bit.
They bump it up, and next thing you know,
swinging.
Yeah.
Or you might have like a little issue with some dude, and the next thing you know, he's getting ganged up on, and
working it out. If you can't beat the fuck out of your friends, who can you beat the fuck out of?
Exactly. I think that's the way the friendships are formed, at least.
Man.
Yeah, like
how many times have you guys been in a fight, and then the guy that you get in a fight with ends up being like a friend for life?
0.
That's never happened to you? It happened to me twice.
No. I mean, I think we were just talking about last night that Andy and
I have been in a fight with Steve, but against other people.
But dude, that was like, I mean, how many dudes were? It was basically a wedding party, and
the odds were not in our favor on that one.
But so
as usual, the violence of action will generally see you through the day.
Pretty funny. So we're in Salt Lake, and we're like Andy and I just went downtown, just him and I, and we're probably laying like 4 or 5 blocks away from our hotel. We're like, we just went in there and have a couple cocktails. Nothing serious. And on the way out, I'm like, I'm starving. So I walk over, and I forgot about this part. I walk over, and I'm going to get a slice of pizza. It was like a pizza place right there. So I get a slice and like a Diet Coke, whatever. And he's like, hey, I'm going to get a cab. So cool. Hail a cab. The dude pulls up. I still have the pizza in my hand. And there was this like wedding party, and this like all the group of people. And I remember this dude walks up, and he's got a bow tie on. He's like dressed up, and there's a lot of people, man, what a wedding party looks like. And the dude walks up and he jumps in front of me. He's like, oh yeah, this is our cab. And I was like, no, it's not. This is my cab. And so I stole my pizza and thing, and the guy like totally gets in my face. And next thing you know, I just the dude's like in my face. I just blast him. And I take him down. And next thing you know, like 3 of his buddies jump me. And then at that point, I think Andy's like probably getting a pizza or whatever. And he looks over. And next thing you know, I'm get jumped. I'm in the gutter. I'm in between I'm literally between the taxi in the curb in the gutter, and this dude's on top of me. And next thing you know, I look up and then Andy's like ripping this dude off. It's like dish, like just pounding his head. So I jump up. Another dude comes over, gets in my face, and I already had this dude. I had my hands on this guy, and I just headbutt this dude right in the face, and his face explodes, like just blood. And Andy grabs me, and we're like, there's like 10 dudes. And as soon as the dude's head explodes, like his face explodes, they're kind of like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not into this.
Yeah.
So Andy's like, let's get the fuck out of here. I'm like, good call. So we like kind of fast walk, and there's just happens to be this, they have those bicycle rickshaw things. And Andy runs out there, and he's like, hey. So we jump in the back of this rickshaw, and him and I just start laughing uncontrollably.
I start telling this guy, like, I'll give you more cash if you pedal faster. But the gearing on this thing is like a fucking 10-speed going up goddamn San Francisco hill.
Yeah,
he's fucking just, his legs are blurry. They're fucking spinning so fast, and we're going like 4 miles an hour.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's ripping back, and Andy and I, like, I don't know why, but we just could not stop laughing.
Because you're escaping on a fucking rickshaw. That's why.
We couldn't stop laughing. The fact that just happens, and we ended up like getting jumped like 10 dudes and just like destroyed these dudes, and then now we're in a rickshaw, like heading back to our hotel.
Dude, that's crazy.
And the dude in the rickshaw is like, he's freaked out because he kind of like saw the whole thing, and this dude looks like his face exploded, and we're on this rickshaw, and we laughed all the way back to the hotel, and we're walking in the lobby, and Andy just busted up, and we're trying to recall what happened. He's like, what happened? I'm like, I'm not really sure, dude, because I'm fucking loaded. Like, I'm not really sure what the fuck happened. We're going to have to try to do some memory recall in the morning, which
because you probably weren't even aware that
I looked over and people were on top
happening.
of my friends, and so I just started peeling them off one at a time.
Yeah, and like we're literally in the car the next morning because we had jump master brief that because we were on a jump course at like 5:30 in the morning. So we're like literally in the rental car, and Andy's like, "What the fuck happened?" I'm like, "I don't know. What happened? I don't know. You tell me." He's like, "I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know what happened." But next thing you know, I look over and there's like 4 dudes on you, and yeah, so
probably an interesting set of wedding pictures.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Imagine the wedding was the next day. Groom's nose is all.
It was
like
the groom. It was the groom because I remember this.
His face
Remember these.
That's kind of what shut it down. They that level of, I guess I would say, violence and the result of that. I think they probably had that feeling of like, oh fuck, we got to take pictures tomorrow. Shut it down a little bit.
And I remember I don't know who it was. Maybe it was one of the bridesmaids. Who knows? But I remember like, "That's the groom!" screaming at me, and I don't know. God knows what I said to her.
Dude,
I'm sure it was classy and professional.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm so sorry.
Did you guys ever get in trouble when you're in the military with the future wives of other team guys because of what you did to them before their wedding?
No, we did one time.
Oh, hazing, you mean?
Yeah. Like doing stupid shit right before a wedding and almost fucking the wedding up.
We had a guy who did not gel well in my first platoon, and we were in Nyland, the training facility. Yeah. The last time I saw him, because I was in my first platoon as well, he was zip tied inside of a shopping cart in the shower area with water running on him. Both of his eyebrows had been shaved, and they put a halo into his head as well. So I don't think those wedding pictures were great either.
Yeah. Well, I remember, so hazing doesn't happen anymore, technically. And I remember, it was back in the day, like, hazing was normal. You got hazed if it was your birthday, if you got married, like, any
we should be
reason.
Clear, though, too, it was not punitive, it was good-hearted.
Exactly.
It was almost, if
it wasn't
happening, you're like, do you guys not like me?
Exactly.
So
if you didn't get hazed, you weren't liked.
They weren't trying to hurt you.
Or
physically, emotionally, perhaps.
We hazed a guy. He's now deceased. Freaking Fred Platt, R.I.P. bro. He was my shooting buddy in sniper school. But yeah, if you didn't get hazed, there was something very wrong, and you knew it was happening because as much as you tried to hide your birthday or the fact that you were getting married or like any excuse to haze somebody, it would happen. And like first time I got married. I ended up, they spray painted me. Like they spray painted almost my entire body. And spray painted, taped up, thrown in a dip tank in Little Creek. So we have these big tanks.
About the size of this table.
Almost.
Yeah.
And that's where we did like pre-diver rigs, and you had to put your rig in the dip tank and make sure you didn't have any leaks. And so in the winter in Little Creek, like when you went out to the dip tank, there was probably like a 1 or 2 inch ice on the top of it. And it just so happened that I was getting married on February 1st. This is a long, long time ago. And sure enough, I'm in the dip tank and they're like, hold on a second. There's somebody's in there with like a hammer breaking the ice and then off. I'm already taped up. And then in the dip tank, I'm already spray painted. They spray painted me. They take me up to one of the poles in the back 40 there, taped me up, spray painted me. I remember going to the wedding like a couple days before, and I'm like trying to get spray paint off. You're trying to get spray paint out of the inside of your ears?
No, because I've never had it in my ears.
Yeah, exactly. Not too many people but I remember like, what the hell am I going to do? So I had to go buy nail polish remover, and I'm in there with a Q-tip trying to get spray paint on my ears. Yeah, and it was in my hair and.
Yeah, we had the only reason I was asking is because I just remembered one time when I was in the military, we had one of our buddies was getting married, so we similar. I think it doesn't matter which country you're in; all militaries are the same. Yeah. But a similar story to that, we thought what can we do to really fuck with him? And so in New Zealand we have these it's like a little cocktail sausage called a Cheerio, and it's like red.
Like a little cocktail weenie.
Yeah.
Why do you call it a Cheerio?
I don't know. That's what they call it.
All right.
So we went to a butcher's shop and we bought like 20 gallons of the dye. And we thought, how funny would it be? Like, we'll get him really drunk and we'll dye him so that the next day he's red. Right? Seems funny. Because we got like a week for the wedding, so it'll be fine. Well, us being dumbasses, we didn't really know much about the dye. Sure as shit, we get him like hammered, and then we fill a bathtub full of this dye.
Shit was permanent, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. What we didn't read is it was a concentrate.
Yes.
So we literally got him drunk, and then we had a snorkel in his mouth, I think, and we were just like dipping him in the bathtub, right? We're dipping him, and so we wake up the next day and we're all fucking hungover, and all of a sudden, like his wife to be calls, "You motherfuckers are uninvited from the wedding. I can't believe you fuck." And we're like, what? We couldn't figure it out, dude. It was like a month. He was like fire engine fucking red.
Fuck yeah.
He had to wear makeup for the whole wedding. Like,
yeah, because your skin recycles about every 30 days.
And if a lot of the guys,
excellent.
Yeah, I'm sure you look really normal with makeup on.
Oh, dude, yeah, he had to wear gloves. Like he had his uniform on, but he was in gloves, and it's like all makeup.
That's great.
She was so pissed. Yeah,
That's
if none of us had been in the wedding party, we would have all been uninvited. Yeah, it was pretty close. She hated us for like 2 years. Yeah, easy.
It's worth it.
Yeah, totally.
It's so worth it.
The story, like, is,
Yeah. So what did you do after the strip clubs? What did you get yourself into? You've lived a storied entrepreneurial life. So.
I have. I moved to Africa and got in the gold and diamond business for about 3.5 years, which was...
I mean, that's a little bit of a lateral shift between Vegas strip clubs. What the fuck?
Well, I was sick of, like, I'd had enough of Vegas. I hadn't had enough of Vegas, but I wanted to do something different. And there was some security opportunities over there and some aviation stuff I could do. Like, I knew some people in the aviation world, and I knew some people in the security world, and I was like, and then I had this opportunity to do some gold mining stuff. So started out in a place called in Accra, which is the capital of Ghana, and based out of Accra. And then I would go to Sierra Leone, and but when you're in Sierra Leone, you've got like, neighboring countries. So you've got Monrovia next door, and, you've got sort of stuff around there. So I was buying gold, and I was buying gold there, and then sure as shit, wherever you buy gold, there's diamonds. So we started getting into the diamond stuff too. But that was super interesting, man. I mean, just I'd spent time overseas, but never like in deepest, darkest Africa.
Yeah, and
that's a whole other fucking world. Like
I know when you had the shotgun ended up in your mouth.
Yeah, I got kidnapped once when I was there. It's funny. Fuck. And
funny at the time or funny now?
It wasn't funny at the time. It's kind of funny now because I sort of think about it. But yeah, I had like 8 guys with shotguns and machetes like break in the house, and all I had was a machete because turns out my lawyer, who I was like, I need a gun, and he's like, well, I can't get you a gun until you get residency. And I was like, well. And he was just trying to fleece me for $15,000 to get the residency. So I was like, fuck it, I don't need it. I had security guys and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as these guys came over the fence, like my security, you guys have worked with Indig security, gone.
See ya.
See ya. I actually have to do something.
They may well have been the ones who told them what time to come over the fence.
That's
for being honest.
Yeah. That's actually what may have happened. So they broke in the house,
I'm going to go to lunch.
Yeah, and before I knew it, I like had a shotgun in my mouth, and they were like trying to. Yeah, it was funny because I had this crazy South African.
They thought you were somebody else, right?
Well, I think they thought I was my business partner. I'm not sure, but they knew we never kept money in the house, and we never kept diamonds in the house, and we were looking after diamond. A guy had said to us, "Hey, I've got to go." This was in Ghana, in Accra. They're like, "Hey, I've got to go to Sierra Leone. Can you put my diamonds and my gold and cash in your safe while I go?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." My business partner was sure because he was going with him. Mm-hmm. Very next night, we got broken into. So we were pretty sure it was. I mean, the police said, "Yeah, it's a total inside job." But yeah, I mean, I'm
no Sherlock Holmes, but I think I can connect the dots on that one.
Yeah, it was like it lasted all of like an hour and a half. They beat me a bit with a machete on the back, and then I just sort of said, "Look," I said, because they thought I knew how to get into the safe, but actually I didn't. I didn't have the code. My business partner did, which is kind of dumb at the time. I don't know why I didn't have it. But the crazy thing too is I had this like crazy old Afrikaans South African we'd been drinking that night. And he was so fucking drunk that these 8 guys smashed in the house, yelling, screaming, kicking down. He never woke up.
Oh no!
And
Wow.
if he had, it's a good thing he wouldn't have, because he was one of those guys that you're pointing a gun at him and he's got a butter knife. He thinks he's going to win the fight. He was that kind of guy.
Yeah.
So he would have probably. It's good he didn't wake up, because he probably would have made the situation worse. But after that, I managed to get a gun, because I went to the local police and they said, the local chief of police says, just give me $600, I'll give you a gun. And then I started changing the whole way I did business after that. Because what I learned is that, Africa seems to have these political systems, but they really only work in the towns. Once you get out into the country, paramount chiefs pretty much run the country. And then they have sub-chiefs. And after I started working with the paramount chiefs, then it was really safe.
Yeah.
Like super safe. Like no one would touch me.
When did you get out of that business?
Just before I started the gun range in Vegas, so
Okay.
about 12 years ago. Yeah.
I mean, that's, again, a large and drastic deviation from what you were doing.
Yeah.
How'd you go from golds and diamonds to back to Vegas for a gun range?
So a buddy of mine, 2 buddies of mine, my partner in the gold and diamond business, he was big into the martial arts world, and then a buddy of mine, Tim, was also big into he was big into self-defense world. And they just said, like, we said, hey, one day we'd like to open a training business and teach shooting and teach self-defense and that type of thing, and just sort of have it as kind of a fun business. So we thought, so one of Tim's big clients was Tony Robbins. Mm-hmm. And Tony wanted us to just get his wife, Sage, comfortable with handguns. So I set up for him to go shoot at a gun range in Vegas. And we're like, hey, we're bringing somebody in, and they're a celebrity, and he just wants a private area. He's not here to to do anything for publicity. He just wants his wife, because they have a big place up in Idaho, and a lot of times she'll be at the place in Idaho, and he wasn't there. That was at the time, and we said okay. So we did it, and it was just a shit show. Like, we go into this gun range, and the owner's there taking pictures, and I don't know if you've ever met him, Tony, but he's like, I don't know, 6'8".
I've heard, like, it's impossible to not recognize.
Yeah, he's a giant. Nicest guy in the world. So, actually, remind me later. I have a great Tony Robbins story too. But he
back from the strip clubs. I get it.
Yeah, no, it's actually an interesting story and humility, to be honest with you. But yeah. So we took him in there, and I was just like, this is a shit show. We can't. But like, and I was starting, like, we were starting to train some celebrities, firearms training and stuff. And I'm like, so I said, we need our own range. I said, so let's build our own gun range.
What year was this?
2011.
Okay.
Yeah, 2011. So so we built a gun range, and what we didn't realize is the amount of business that's in a tourist gun range. So we decided we're not going to sell guns. Like, when I started out, everybody thought I was absolutely crazy. So they're like, you're going to open a gun range that doesn't sell guns and doesn't sell ammunition. I'm like, yep. What are you going to do? I said, we're just going to train people, and we're going to do shooting experiences. So we put together, like, we have a SEAL Team 6 package, right? And that's all the guns that, as SEAL Team 6, so we have the guns that you guys would carry.
Yeah.
And that's a package, and someone would buy that package, and they'd come to our gun range and shoot it. And I'd try to hire as many veterans as I could. So we put a lot of veterans in, which was great, because I hire veterans as much as I can. So we got that going. What we didn't realize is we thought the training would be like 90% of our business, and this little tourism thing would be like 10% of our business.
Probably flipped.
Dude, it was like training was like 0.5% and 99.5%. I mean, in our busiest times, we were doing 40,000 tourists a year. Oof. Yeah. And especially when there was like...
Damn.
Yeah, and that was a really interesting business, because we get, probably the most interesting were the Chinese. Like, the Chinese would book to come and shoot, and they'd show up in a 40-passenger bus, and they'd all... And I couldn't figure it out until I started talking to the guy who ran the tour company. But they would come in, and they'd shoot maybe 1 or 2 guns, but they'd take a picture holding each gun, and then they'd just get back on the bus. And I'm like, what's going on? He goes, they need to show that they have done something touristy while they're here. He said, they're really just here for the shopping. So the shopping and the gambling.
Okay.
So it was, you'd see all different types of people coming.
It was almost an expense justification.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, an expense and a political one. If they ever got questioned, or they were so worried about going home and everybody knowing they went shopping and gambling. So
You ever had somebody come into your range and off themselves?
yes. I've had it happen twice.
That's fucking gnarly. I don't think people realize how often that actually happens.
Yeah, it's very gnarly. And, you know, it's sad too because it really affects the people that are there at the time.
Yeah, they're not there for the Picasso experience.
No, I mean,
fuck.
Yeah, I heard all the stories.
Yeah,
actually,
I've had to deal with it twice. One outdoor and one indoor. Yeah, and it's weird.
Was it men both times?
It was men both times, and they were both from foreign countries, and they specifically flew from a foreign country to Las Vegas to kill themselves. One was from Germany and one was from India.
What was their weapon of choice?
Both used Glocks. So, for example, if you come to our gun range, we won't rent you a single handgun. If you want to come and just rent a single handgun, we won't do it. Yeah.
So if I come,
because of that.
Yeah, because of that.
my Genghis, I need a Glock 19, 1 round.
Yeah. No.
And a range. And just 5 minutes. You guys have a 5-minute block?
Yeah. No.
Red flags. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, check.
Huge red flags. So, you know, and
people don't realize how often this actually happens, though, at gun ranges.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
Which it fucks everybody. The owners don't want to deal with that. People at the range don't want to deal with that. It's horrendous.
No, and it's at the time I had a guy helping us out with managing the business, and he was an ex
Marine, right?
No, he's ex Green Beret, and then worked for some of the 3-letter agencies, and a super good guy. He's still very he's still very operational in that world, and but you know he's an old school guy, right? So this guy shot himself, so we got to clean it up. So like I wasn't there at the time.
Just like 20-minute call.
Yeah, like so he's there, and they're all like, you know, sweeping up like biohazard shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
You mean brains?
yeah, brains and fucking blood and stuff. And you know, I got a $25,000 fine from OSHA for it because
What were you supposed to do?
we were meant to shut the range down, call a company that was licensed to remove biohazards. But, you know, we're military guys, right? So we're like, hey guys, it's a fucking mess. We've got to clean it up. Let's clean it up. That was his, he didn't, like, that was any.
I never even knew that existed.
Yeah.
Those types of
Yeah.
places.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they go.
And that's what that company does. They do.
Yeah, they'll come and clean.
They do body cleanup.
I'm sure they
Yep.
do more than that, but it's in the biohazard realm. That's
Yep.
one of the services they offer for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'd imagine the same thing happened in the hotel world because people die in hotels too, right?
People have absolutely no idea how many people die in hotels. Like,
Really?
Like shit tons of people die in hotels.
What?
Oh,
How
yeah.
does the hotel room deal with it? They clean it up and just turn
Very
it next
quiet.
guest comes in?
Yeah, very quiet.
Do you have to declare, like, hey, just upon check-in, we know you have the suite booked. We just want to let you know that somebody so-and-so just died in there 5 minutes ago or maybe 2 hours ago. They'll just put somebody else right in there?
But one thing Vegas is very good at is protecting the casinos, and not from a like illegal perspective, but just from a things that might make it look bad perspective.
Yeah.
you know.
That's bad. That's definitely bad PR.
Yeah, but
Hey, don't stay in room 1301.
I mean,
Yeah.
dude, when I was running at the time was arguably one of the most popular clubs in the world at that time. And there's a place in the MGM called the Mansions, right? So at that time, you couldn't pay to stay at the Mansions. You either had to be a celebrity, or I think you had to be putting at least 100 to 150,000 a day across the
A
table.
very well-known person. To
So they're all
yeah,
comped.
Yeah. So huge comp guys. So I would get calls from the mansion all the time and say, hey, you know, so and so's a mansion guest. They're coming over. Can you reserve them a table? And I'm like, yeah, no worries. It happened all the time. So I had this guy and his wife come in, super nice, well dressed, you know. And the mansion had called and said, hey, we have a very important mansion guest coming over. It's great. So I said to him, hey, do you want one of the best tables on the floor? He goes, no, me and my wife just want to be chill. You know, if you can give us one of these tables up here. I was like, yeah, no worries. So I give him this table, and I get a call on the radio, Genghis, we need you downstairs. I'm like, fuck, okay, what is it? So I go downstairs, and it's this guy. And he said, look, I need to speak to you really quick. There's a problem. I said, yeah, no problem. So I walk outside with him. He pulls out a hypodermic needle, and he's like, when we sat down, my wife sat down in the chair, and this jabbed her in the backside. And I'm like, shit. And he goes, my wife's freaking out. She's worried she's got like hep B or something. Can you help me? And I'm like, yeah, no worries. So I immediately call security, immediately call medic, because they have everything in the casino, right? So I immediately call medics. His wife's freaking out, like, I've got AIDS, I've got this. So we pull her out of the casino. So anyway, I'm managing this whole situation, right? So this woman's going nuts. We've got gurneys over there, and an ambulance has showed up, and all this shit's going on. And this is at the back of a club on a Saturday night when the casino's cranking.
Now I got a call from the security officer, Genghis Cohen, the security officer. I'm like, dude, I'm dealing with this. He goes, no, you need to come over and see this. I said, okay. So
Shit's popping off.
Yeah. So I go to the security office.
She planted it?
Oh, yeah. That's it. So what ended up happening was this guy had just lost a few $1 million. So you see on the security camera, you see it pull something out of her purse. She had it in the couch. And then she starts bouncing, back on it like it's a fucking bouncy ball.
Or incredibly believable.
Yeah.
Depending on how fucking jaded you are about the human species.
Yeah. And then they were literally going to try and leverage the casino to get out of the $2 million that he just lost versus a lawsuit. Yeah. So they got arrested.
Good.
Yeah.
They should.
Yeah. Vegas is huge on that. If you do anything like that, like I'd have guys come to the strip club and they'd be literally,
what would the charge be? Fraud?
I don't know.
Jeez.
Probably.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
we'd have so many guys would come to the strip club and they'd drop $3 grand, $5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand, whatever it was. And then they'd get home and the credit card bill would come and their wife would see it. And, oh shit, that wasn't me. So what we ended up doing is
my card
they
got
didn't
stolen.
realize, but when they signed, I had a camera here, camera here, camera here, and a camera above them. And they'd dispute the charge.
Yeah, try to charge that shit back.
And then we just send that to the credit card company and that'd be over. But sometimes guys would refuse to. I said, look, you agreed to this. Here's where you signed to agree to it. And they go, no. Okay, we just call Metro. And in Las Vegas, it's called theft of service. Mm-hmm. So Metro come up and go, you don't pay your bill, you're going to jail. And so the whole system in Vegas is very much in favor. Like I just say to people, when you come to Vegas, don't fuck around with casinos and just don't try and pull shit like that because it just doesn't.
Multi-billion-dollar industries are not there because they don't know how to do business.
Yeah,
exactly.
They will fuck you up. If you want to mess around with them.
Yeah. So
especially back in the day, like they weren't calling Metro. They were like
they were calling fucking Johnny Two Fists. Fucking brass knuckles, tune your shit up.
Yeah. And those days
from somewhere on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Well,
with an accent.
When I ran the strip club, it was kind of funny. Like the guy who owned the strip club was Italian, born, lived south side of Chicago, owned strip clubs in Chicago, very, very Italian. One of the best business mentors I've ever had in my life. Like, he gave me some of the best business advice I ever had. Like, I talked to him last week and he's got to be knocking on 80, I would think. He's at least in his late 70s. But such an amazing businessman. But the stories he would tell about like running like peep shows and massage parlors and the south side of Chicago back in like the 70s and 80s and like and even the store. And so when he did that, he introduced me to like this whole sort of group of Italian guys in Vegas that were like the old school Vegas Italian guys. And this like I would go to these lunches, right? So I'm this at that time I was like 32. Guy from New Zealand, and I'm surrounded by these like guys in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, these old Italian dudes, and like the stories they would have about Vegas.
Oh, I bet.
Back in the day, it was just incredible. Yeah, how that city was built was incredible.
What was the wildest thing you ever saw at one of those nightclubs, other than the syringe?
And then, I just the amount of money people spend was.
What's the biggest tab you've ever seen in one of those places?
I think $2.5 million bar tab.
$2.5 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there $2.5 million worth of liquor in that fucking place?
Oh yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, if you're ordering bottle service,
your bottle
like
service
$8,000 a piece.
Oh no, there are bottles that are 400,000, 500,000
of what?
Champagne.
What would it be if you went to a fucking liquor store and bought it?
$200.
Well, this is shit that you can't even get at a liquor store.
Okay.
Yeah,
but if you were able to source it on the street, what would the fucking street price be?
It'd still be up there, but not that much.
Yeah, of course.
You got to understand. I mean, a bottle of Tito's at somewhere like Excess. I haven't been there in a while, long time, but it's probably $800 to $1,000 for a bottle. I mean, you buy it for $40, so it gives you an idea of markup.
What do you pay a $2.5 million tab with?
Black Amex usually. Yeah.
Okay.
Some with cash.
Damn, cash.
Yeah.
Like duffel bag, bro.
Oh yeah. I've seen some crazy tabs, like, I mean, I know you guys have probably seen the movie, Hangover.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But like, some of that shit happens. Like I know an Arab client came to town and he told one of the nightclub owners, hey, if you have a tiger in my room, when I come to Vegas, I'll spend, I don't know what it was, 2 million, 1 million, 3 million, whatever the hell it was. When he got there was a tiger in his room.
Why didn't he just get a pet tiger where he lives? Save a couple $1 million.
These people have.
They're not worried about saving money.
I mean, you've got cocktail waitresses. The biggest tip I've ever heard of, semi-witnessed, because I was at the table and my buddy told me what he tipped was $275,000
for a tip.
That's the biggest tip I've seen to a cocktail waitress.
How much of that would she actually get?
It's pooled.
Yeah.
So so it goes to everybody.
Rough. That's way rough.
But the biggest tip I've personally ever seen was a buddy of mine, and he was gambling. So he's very superstitious, and no matter what happens, he always tips 20%. So we were at the Venetian, and he won $4.5 million. So he tipped $900,000 to the dealer.
Is that pooled as well?
Yeah. Like we're walking.
Holy fuck, man!
We're walking out of the Venetian. That's my Mongolian buddy. And we're walking out of the Venetian, and literally, people are coming out from behind the table to shake his hand, and all the dealers are clapping.
Oh yeah,
because I forget what
can I give this guy a hug?
I forget how much they made, but each one of them. I was like 20 or 30 grand each out of that. It was some number. I can't remember how the split was.
Fuck, good for them.
Yeah, but it's all between the pit bosses and stuff. But I mean, they'll have competitions. They'll have like a big high roller from England and a big high roller from UAE and maybe a big Russian high roller, and they'll have They'll have like a big Russian flag up and a big, flag, and then they make the guys like these beautiful silk robes and boxing gloves, and they have like this who can spend the most money in 4 hours at the club, and then all well over $1 million tabs.
Again, we're in the wrong fucking business, Steve.
Yeah.
I sell lattes at a pretty fixed price.
Maybe you should have a who can buy the most lattes.
Is it better than Starbucks? Your pricing?
I don't know. I'd have to go take a look. It's comparable, I would imagine.
You have the nicest coffee shop I've ever been in.
Me too.
I'm not just saying that, dude. Like,
well, look, the coolest. The coolest.
Usually when you go into a coffee shop, it's a bit feminine. Yours is not at all.
No.
Like it's.
I'd imagine
And not in a bad way. It's not a misogynistic.
It's feminine in the mornings because Michael does security there.
You probably
very feminine.
You probably don't get a whole lot of liberals rolling up in Black Rifle coffee. I imagine.
It's not often I want to video a coffee shop, but like it's bitching.
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
And that's why I said to you, dude, if you put that in Vegas, holy shit.
Well, let's put one in Vegas.
Yeah, no, trust me.
I got the keys to the design. I mean, at this point now, I could tell them what works, what doesn't, what you want to focus on, the layout. The design is actually turnkey.
Yeah.
I got some ideas too. You can switch up. I saw some stuff that I could switch up.
Like what? Mr. fucking Triple D, fucking Dark Desert Defense, fucking hacks over here.
Dude, we could put a little gun range in it.
That would be cool.
And I don't know. I mean, you speak to that better than I can.
I've talked to casinos about putting gun range in before, and they were against it.
Have a cup of coffee, go to the gun range, and kill yourself.
Well, yeah, maybe not that, but
the liability part of that would be like, I'm not interested.
Well, that's a big thing, like we don't
just build it right next to MGE. And you're fine.
Nah, but you need it in a casino because you need. I mean, when there's imagine SHOT Show. How busy would you be during SHOT Show?
Dude,
you would have to put it in a casino.
Yeah, you would literally be 100%. Booked out for all of SHOT Show.
Yeah.
That would be it.
Well, I like the idea of a content studio as well because people do travel, and I have travel kits, and it becomes inconvenient depending on the type and the quality. You're like, do you want to travel with mic stands, or do you want to do wireless shit, or fucking tripods, or all? I mean, you can go as big as you want.
Yeah.
Or pay $500 or whatever they would charge there, and say, hey, here's a full studio for you. Just bring your people, sit down, and.
So
charge it like you can rent out a podcast studio.
So we were gonna.
Imagine this room that we're sitting in. Anytime I'm not doing a podcast. I mean, I would, of course, task Michael to be here to make sure they're not making gay porn on the fucking table.
That'd help.
Yeah. But, we'll talk for a couple hours today. There's 20 plus hours of it not being used. I mean, why not monetize the rest of that time if you could?
So exactly. We have one in our office, and we've just set up to rent it, and they rent for $250 an hour.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Because so many content providers come to Vegas, and they want to do podcasts.
Yeah.
And exactly like you said, they've got to bring a mobile kit and they've got to bring a tech. And
that's pretty cheap, actually.
Well,
sounds pretty cheap.
When you're not making anything out of it for, like you said, for 20 hours a day, and sometimes you don't use it for 3 days.
Yeah.
Like anything's good, right?
Yeah.
You know? So
why not?
But yeah, so we're moving offices and we're building an even better one in our new office. So
I'm down for the casino coffee shop podcast idea. I'll just put that back in your court to make that happen, and I can consult and design.
Yeah, I mean the tricky part would be finding the real estate for it.
No, not right now.
Really?
No, because the casinos are kind of at this funny spot where, you know, gaming doesn't generate the most revenue now. Entertainment does, which is why we're starting to get sports teams now, which is, I mean, the nightclubs make more money than anything.
That makes sense.
You know, I mean, any DJ that's DJing at a big club in Vegas on New Year's Eve, I would think is at least making $1 million minimum, I would think. And back in the heyday, because a lot of the DJs used to come and shoot at my gun range. You know, like a lot of the big, like Aoki, Avicii, Afrojack, a lot of those guys, you know, Anderson Silva, part of his pre-fight ritual was to come and shoot at my gun range. So, you know, a lot of those guys will come and come to Vegas, and the money they were getting was insane. Like I know one of the DJs, he's in Holland. He wouldn't DJ at Wynn unless they wrapped his name on one of their jets and flew it to Amsterdam or Holland to pick him up and fly him back. Otherwise, he wasn't coming. It's
kind of an asshole request.
Yeah. So they're just making like fuck you money.
I guess, man. I don't understand that level of money and wealth.
And it's super smart because I started to I got to know these guys because they come and shoot at my gun range, and it's fucking the greatest business in the world because like you cut a track, and I'm a big name DJ. Well, I'm going to play your track for you, and then you're going to play my track for me, and so they're all friends, and they all play each other's stuff, and it just boom boom boom, and that's how they would get their songs. You know, I mean, it's, you know, if you like the music, it's great music, but they work really well together to help each other out, and you know, create that sort of cash flow.
Well, dude, let's get into the important shit. The only thing that matters. How'd you get into flying helicopters?
Yes, thank you.
Fuck everything else. Let's talk rotary wing. Steve's going to be like,
okay. I'm gonna go take
totally.
No,
you would be good at flying.
I want him to
be good at it. I would start with fixed wing for you.
Really?
Here's why I say that. And granted, so I have a good amount of fixed wing time, very little rotary wing time. Mm-hmm. And I looked back at the rotary flying that I did. It literally was I would show up and focus on that helicopter, the systems, the knowledge of that helicopter, and flying. Mm-hmm. Because I took all the knowledge tests when I got my private pilot fixed wing. Mm-hmm. It would be looking back at it. Not the flying helicopters. It's not hard, but it's not easy.
Yeah,
it's complex, but it's not insane. Mm-hmm. But trying to do that in addition to the basic knowledge test and learning about airspace and radio calls and all of that stuff, I think personally that it would be easier to learn those things in a fixed wing aircraft. Mm-hmm. That's my personal opinion. I feel like from a control perspective, airplanes are easier to control than a helicopter. Then you layer on the knowledge base on top of that. Right. Because for me, I was literally I would go there, helicopter only, none of the other stuff I had to talk about because all of my...
Because you knew it all.
Right. And all that stuff counted. Like I didn't have to take a knowledge test associated with it. I knew the airspace and all that stuff. It was a quick oral, and I think my check ride was 45 minutes.
Yeah. Dude, I remember when you first started flying and you get your pilot's list, I was like, oh yeah, I wanted to do it. As a matter of fact, I was considering before I left the command, I was considering going over to Teeny Weeny and doing all that stuff. And but after you started flying and talking with you and flying with you, you're like, dude, it's so fucking boring. I'm so bored off my ass. And literally, I never pursued it because you're like, dude, this is so boring. And flying with you and stuff, I mean, those
flights were fun because I would pick you up and we would go do whatever we wanted to do.
Right.
Flying for somebody else where they're telling you when to, and especially when I was flying like the Gulfstream, the bigger the airplane, the bigger the suitcase, and you're spending awesome holidays and weekends and anniversaries, not of your own, with somebody else in a cool place, but you're by yourself.
Yeah.
So you're traveling on somebody else's schedule.
Yeah. And it totally turned me off. I was like, fuck that. I ain't going to do it. But like with Genghis and, he's like, helicopter pilot. Like I've always thought it was so cool, just like working with TF, like the little birds. I was like, this thing is, those things are so tiny. I'm like, this thing was like, I could just push this thing into my garage.
Yeah. What will blow your mind? So I look back now understanding how these things fly and what some of these noises mean and vibrations. Like when you're, this isn't going to make any sense to you, but like you're coming into land, you're like the transverse flow effect where it's chattering where you want it to chatter because it's clean air and dirty air, or when they get lift and when they don't. I look back, I'm like, oh, you motherfuckers almost killed us.
I bet.
Many times.
Oh, yeah. I bet.
And they were on the razor's edge of performance. And you and I are just sitting back there like fucking retards listening to Metallica and our fucking
ignorance
earbuds.
is bliss, man.
Exactly. I'm on the helm in the 47 in the back, like on ICS, like listening to Disturbed on the way to the target, like I'm like, oh, that's a weird noise. Anyway,
now that I have an understanding, and the Little Birds being an example, holy shit, dude, they are working because they were rock solid, stable. The work they were doing up there to make it that way for us is unfucking believable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
That's why rotary wing, I've always eventually I always wanted, and I will. That's like on, I don't really have a bucket list, but that's definitely on it. But if I did. But I always remember like just being on the Little Bird, especially when I was at Sniper Cell. I mean, like this thing is it's like a little toy. Yeah. And you're sitting on the, on the skid or on the benches there. I remember going out to the range and it was so fun, man. Go out there and like we had LaRue set up and boom, come in a Little Bird. I'm like, it'd be so cool to be able to fly one of these things and have it, because when it was on the deck, like we go out there and like meet pilots and stuff. It's like this thing's like a little toy. Yeah, it's tiny.
It is.
Like
tiny.
I could throw that thing in the back of my truck.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And especially like you learn on the Robinsons. Like I started out on 300s and then switched to Robin. Have you ever flown a 22?
No.
Yeah, fuck that. That's
I have no desire to.
That's like flying a fucking beer can with a sewing machine engine in it. I mean, it's an amazing little helicopter for what it does.
Unless you get an underspeed on the fucking rotor.
Oh yeah.
You will die.
Yeah. I mean,
you got to have really quick tolerances if there's an engine failure. You have to let the engine spin or the rotor blade spin with the air as you fall down. If you're not quick on it, it will go so slow it'll stop, and then you can imagine.
Yeah.
No, it won't stall. The rotor will stop, and you can imagine the flight characteristics of a helicopter without a rotor blade spinning.
Yeah. Not good.
Yeah.
So when I started out, at 4 years old, my dad took me to this like county fair in New Zealand, and we went in an old Bell 47, the old MASH helicopter.
Yeah.
And that was it. I was sold. Like, that's it. I'm going to fly helicopters. That's it. So, when I was probably 16, I think, another long story I'll tell you over dinner because it's a too long a story for this, but my father was very tight with the Israelis, for want of a better term. So he got me in, because my last name, my very close to Khan, but it's Cohen, which obviously is a very Jewish name. So
Khan.
Yeah. I'm actually not Jewish, but my father was. I'll tell you the whole story. But long story short, he'd done a lot of things for the state of Israel when he was a naval officer in the Second World War, and at the end of the Second World War, he did a lot of stuff for the forming of the state of Israel. So he had a lot of good friends in Israel. Anyway, he got me in to be a helicopter pilot. With the to train to be a pilot for the Israeli Defense Force.
Oh, fuck yeah.
But my mother was like, absolutely no fucking way. So he can fly. She goes, no problem, but he has to stay in New Zealand and he can go here. And I was like, okay. So I thought I'll join the New Zealand Army and I'll become a helicopter pilot. Well, I just happened to join when the New Zealand Army got rid of all its helicopters and gave it to the Air Force. So I kind of got screwed out of that. So then I just paid and did it in civilian. I started off with 300s, then R22s, then R44s. Then I started flying turbines, and now I fly turbines, as you know. But
turbines are the way to go.
Yeah,
economically they're out of range for a lot of people, whether it's from the acquisition or operating costs.
Yeah,
but yeah, not that piston engines fail that often.
No,
it's just that turbines fail less often.
Yeah, well, it's just more simple, right? It has less moving parts. So
you get the thing spinning and you're good to go, and it's not constantly trying to bash itself apart.
Right, and I think, so for me, I just
like aircraft.
Yeah.
So,
I'd always loved flying helicopters, and I'd always wanted to do it. And once you start, you know what it's like, dude.
Yeah.
Once you start
looking at the world differently. Like, I could go over there. Oh, why don't I just go load this thing up with my fucking camping gear and go camp up there at that little apex that nobody else can get into?
Yep.
Like, let's go check out this lake. What else can I fit here? Fishing gear, motorcycle. Yep. Like, what do we got?
It's the most versatile tool to get you access to things that like people just can't normally get. Oh, you'd have to be on a horse for like 3 days to get to, right? So that really what got me into it. And now what we do with the helicopter is we have it in a veterans nonprofit, and we actually provide free search and rescue for the community. So we we support police and we support local search and rescue, and we're just about to get our second aircraft, which is great. So, but yeah, it's great, man. I mean, I love it. I've been trying to talk Steve. I'm like, dude, I want to start teaching you to fly. Like, I want to start getting you like.
There's some good aviation schools in Vegas too.
Dude, he's never used his GI Bill, so his GI Bill would pay for it.
I think it kicks in after private.
Oh, does it?
I'm pretty sure it's after private because I've looked at this a little bit.
Yeah, because there's a school in Utah called SSU, and they're an aviation school. And I met a guy the other day, and he was a medic in the Navy.
Yeah.
And he did his commercial license with them, and he said, I don't know if his GI paid, maybe you're right. Maybe he had to pay for that.
I feel like, because I was looking at this when I was doing my private pilot.
I thought you used yours when you got to San Diego. No?
CrossFit paid for all the upgrades.
Oh, that's right.
I did pay for my private pilot.
But initially, when you first got out there,
I just paid
you didn't
for it.
work for CrossFit.
Correct. I
still
just
active?
did it at Gillespie Field in San Diego.
Yeah, because you were still active.
Yeah, because I checked into BUDS as a BUDS instructor after leaving the command. And I get there and they're like, hey, we're doing this new thing where there's no Winter Hell Week this year. I'm like, okay, that's super dumb. But also, what does that mean for me? And, well, we don't have a class for you for 4 months because you're in second phase. So I'm like, okay, so what do I do here? They're like, check in once a week. And I was driving home by Gillespie Field in San Diego, and I look up on the fucking freeway, and there's an airplane that looked like it was about to crash. And I was like, fuck it, that looks interesting. Took a left-hand turn, did an intro flight, and then just started flying. Paid for it on my own. And then afterwards, I had not flown for a couple of years when Glassman hit me up and was like, hey, here's the fucking credit card. Go get all your licenses and all that stuff. And I was like, okay. Yeah, so it was like private.
So what are your
instrument,
dude?
commercial,
what are you guys' thoughts on the new these new like drones that you can get in and jump in and fly around? Like that's
a drone that you can get in? What are you talking about?
Oh yeah, these drones now you can you
they're
basically jump in this
3 years
thing.
out.
I thought you were talking about the Ukrainian drones.
No, they're out. You can buy one now.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
A drone?
Well, I don't
basically
know.
you sit in this thing and it's 4 blades.
Yeah.
You sit in it and basically you fly this thing around.
Would that even be considered a drone? I feel like the FAA would certify that as an aircraft of some kind.
It is.
But they're autonomous now.
All you need is your recreational pilot's license.
I don't even know how you get one of those.
A recreational pilot's license?
Yeah,
it's
I'm sure
easy.
there's a process.
Like, so for example,
like a
like
microlight license.
when I was back in Air Ops, when we started testing the powered parachutes with the carts and all that stuff, and myself and who, our buddy that we were talking about earlier, we went through and got a recreational pilot's license and started to learn how to fly those things because we were testing them for an operational capability. Of course, it ended up being no way. I was just like, I axed that project immediately because they're so sensitive to wind conditions. Wind conditions. I mean, but no, he flew. I mean, we probably ended up getting close to 150 to 200 hours.
Yeah, I mean, a private pilot license, fixed wing. I mean, I think the minimums are 30 or 40 hours. Most people, it takes longer than that just because you need the cumulative time. Right. I bet you a recreational license is probably half of that.
Dude,
It's like we had those guys who strap like fucking fan to their back with a parachute.
Yeah, was it just a written test?
That's a paramotor. It is a written test.
Okay.
So we went through and we got literally we went through the class, went through like probably 4 or 5 hours of classroom, and we took the test. It was what's his face and I and we took the test, and here you go. There's your recreational pilot's license, and then we just started.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not against people exploring their aviation, passions to their heart's content. Just know what the fuck you're getting into. Yeah. Everything is awesome in aviation until it's not. And then you better have your shit dialed in pretty tight.
Yeah. Yeah, because when it goes wrong, it goes wrong.
But the whole drone thing, like it's like being inside this thing, it's like, okay, these things malfunction, but there's, in my opinion, and I don't know anything about rotary wing other than the helicopters I've ridden on, thousands of hours riding in one, obviously, as you know. But I feel like this thing, malfunctions. It's catastrophic. I mean, you better have a base rig on.
Yeah, I don't know if they have parachutes in them or that's one of my, because I've literally got friends who have got deposits down on these things, and they said, yeah, I'm getting delivery like 2 years from now, 3 years from now, but I just think it's going to be way more regulated.
Yeah,
probably. I don't know the FAA. That's the thing is I don't know if the FAA is going to regulate that because that's going to be a shit show. Could you imagine?
There's going to have to be some level of coordination and restriction because you can't just be buzzing those things around.
Like they won't be able to fly over cities. Yeah. I mean, at least not. Look, a car, which to me is far less dangerous at this point in time. Like they can't even have these autonomous cars without someone sitting in the driver's seat right now. So I just think, I don't think.
Let alone some dude in a drone flying over your neighborhood.
Oh, dude, imagine like you're in your private drone and all of a sudden there's a software glitch and it decides to fucking fly into an airliner that's 3,000 feet above you. Like,
Fuck yeah.
There's just so many things that can go wrong. You know, for me at least, flying a plane is a stable platform in the air.
It's inherently stable.
Yeah, helicopters are inherently
and they glide.
unstable.
Yeah.
And they glide.
Helicopters actually glide more than you would think. When we started doing auto rotations, and not that I'm an expert in this, even within our R44, the angle that you look out that you can make it to, it's farther than you would think.
So
farther than like being under a parachute?
No.
Okay.
How far? What's your glide ratio on a parachute?
Depends on the parachute. I mean, they have high glide parachutes. Depends on the material. It depends on the tailwind, headwind, like all sorts of stuff. Density, altitude, all the same shit.
The parachute's like we jump, glide ratio. Yeah. Yeah, they're coming out of the sky.
So on a 44, like I've done a shit ton of auto rotations in 44s, but and I'm sure there's going to be someone out there who's going to correct me, but I think it's 1 to 6. I think
It's about a 45-degree angle.
Okay. Well, have you done the 90-90 rule?
I have. You had to stretch it out more.
Yeah.
We talked about it. I didn't actually do it in practice.
Yeah. So it's actually really good to practice it.
Yeah.
So if you get an opportunity to do it, it's great. But
he's talking about getting the maximum glide.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the most I've done is 9 miles from I think I was at 5,000 feet or
shit. Really?
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
that's insane.
So he's at 90% rotor RPM, which is the bottom limit, and a 90 knots.
Yeah, 90 knots.
So you're pulling up on the collective a little bit. You're asking the helicopter to give you a little bit of that energy that you would normally use for a flare, and you're pitching it forward. So you're trying to get that optimal glide. It's farther than you would think. They don't just fall out of the sky.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So, for example, like a parachute, if it was wing loaded 1-to-1, right, or maybe even like a 1.5, you're going to get on average, you're going to get either like somewhere between a 1.2 to 1.35 glide ratio.
Yeah.
And obviously, the bigger the wing, you're going to get a lot more glide out of it. But a lot of those factors are in there, like air density, altitude, wing loading, obviously. But that like 1.9.
Dude, I've done
that's insane.
Like, have you done like real low level auto rotations? Have you done those? Yeah. So that's another one that's interesting. Like even at 100 feet, as long as you've got enough airspeed, you can get it to the ground safely.
But when you like get close to the ground, I mean, are you actually have enough energy to do a flare, or are you moving?
So like a jet ranger,
you get
old jet rangers.
You get one chance.
Yeah.
Like,
well, not made a jet. I've actually seen this old guy in San Jose.
Well, they probably flared it, lifted it up, and turned it around.
He engine off, comes down, does an auto rotation, touches the jet range down, lifts off, rotates through 360 degrees.
And the motor's not running.
It just has enough contained
energy
to spin
in the rotor blades.
In the rotor blades,
it'd have to be a turbine to do that. There's no way a piston's going to allow it to spin like that.
44s. I mean, don't get me wrong. 44s. Robinsons are great helicopters. There's a great story. I don't know if everyone this is a story I was told. I don't know how factual it is, but you can ask the Robinson factory guys. But so when the Robinson came out, Frank Robinson went to New Zealand because he had an inordinate amount of Robinson helicopters crashing in New Zealand, and he was like, man. Why is the number of crashed helicopters in New Zealand so much higher? He's like, is it atmospheric conditions? Is it like, I don't know.
I'm going to guess it was crazy fuckers.
No, he knew the minute he landed. He said he was in Auckland Airport and a guy walked up to him and said, "You're Frank Robinson." He goes, "Yeah, I am." And the guy goes, "I'm a helicopter pilot. I fly your helicopter." And he goes, "Oh, wow, what do you think of it?" He goes, "Well, there's a lot of stuff in the book you say you can't do, and we do it all the time and we're fine." And that's why his helicopter
100% how it fatality rate was so high.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
They were flying the aircraft outside of its designated parameters.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like I can show you videos of guys in R22s with like 6 deer hanging off the bottom.
Not designed for that.
They can't lift off. So they put the deer near the edge of a cliff and then they lift off and drag the deer off. And you see the helicopter go boop like this, and then it just gets enough lift to get out of there.
Yeah. That's kind of like, the tandem systems, right? So the manufacturer recommended maximum weight of an exit with a tandem rig, I think it's like 450 pounds is like, their manufacturer recommended ratings. It's like, And we use them in the military. Like we're exiting the plane and our suspended weight of our load is over 400 pounds and upwards of 400. I mean, we did that deal with the
bundle
and with the kill cliff.
With the
kill cliff. I mean, I did a test jump because I was like, dude, I've never jumped a 6 foot by 36 inch barrel ever because we never had them. We always had like 5 by 30s. And I'm like, dude, I need to do a test jump. So we went out and we loaded this thing up. And I'm pretty sure the weight of that barrel was probably close to 700 pounds.
Yeah.
And your chute was rated 400?
Well, so yeah, we had the basically same parachute. I think it was a TP 400.
Yeah.
And 400 square foot. So the wing loading on that alone was like it was probably at least a 1.5, 1.8. Because when Andy was videoing my test jump, he was on his head, meaning like
we were hauling ass.
You were up. You were vertical.
Yeah,
with a 6 foot drogue out, because that's the bundle drogue. With 6 foot drogue out, and in free fall, and the fall rate was so fast, the drogue was vibrating my body so much I could barely even see my altimeter.
How was the opening sequence on that?
So much. Oh, dude. So when I released the drogue, it was a car accident.
Really?
Yeah. And thank God that it was an on-heading opening. No big deal. Pointed towards the drop zone because the toggle pressure was so heavy. I opened up on heading. Thank God. I'm flying and I'm trying to I'm seeing stars after the opening, and I'm like, oh, thank God I'm flying towards the drop zone right now. And it basically flew straight towards the drop zone and made a left turn and landed into the wind, and just the barrel was so heavy that I barely got through the whole flare, and the barrel broke apart. Jesus. How fast I was going, because
we were experimenting at that time.
Yeah, because here's the thing I was worried about. This barrel was so big that you're always worried. The worst case scenario with jumping a thing that big is it floating on you. So the last thing I want is to leave the plane and now the barrel is above me. Like now we got a problem. Like if it's as long as it's below me, we're
fun
good.
Problem.
We're good to go. I was like, we're doing the, because when I ran the tandem course, I mean, self-set Fridays was like a big deal.
I used to love those videos.
Oh, dude.
Asking people in the debrief, like, so talk me through your exit. Like, yeah, I rode that fucking thing out, got vertical, let go, pitched. You're like, cool.
Okay, let's watch the video.
They're 2 feet back in the aircraft, just like, ha.
They call it shopping carting. Like they let go of the thing before the barrel is even off, like it's still on the ramp. It's like we call it the shopping cart because all they want to do is let go of this thing and reach back and throw their drogue. Like, dude, you almost hit the aircraft with your drogue because your feet were still on the ramp and your hand was reaching back, like throwing your drogue into the side of the Casa.
I feel like I was the best problem passenger the tandem course ever saw.
Yeah, you and what's his face? Yeah, he would remember you get out of the plane, and so at the end of the course we did this thing. It's called problem passenger. So it basically is like you had to control your passenger.
You take an experienced tandem instructor.
Yeah.
And the instructor's job is to show you how fucking gnarly it can get if you have a problem passenger.
Yeah,
right.
And so we'd take them up, and they'd be getting the gear on, and as instructors, it's so fun because you're like, "What's this strap do?" And you're like undoing your chest. No, don't touch that. In the aircraft, we as instructors, we get up in the aircraft, like we get up and stand up, like, "Hey, is this the ramp?" And they're like, "Whoa, sit back down, put your seatbelt back on," and just total nightmare. Like we would just intentionally take our goggles and throw them under the seat.
Yeah.
And they're like, our contacts, where are my goggles at? And they're like, oh shit, where are your goggles at? And we would just fuck with the students so much, and to the point where some guys, what's his face, he would put split pea soup in a Ziploc bag and have it in his jumpsuit. And in free fall, he would take the thing out and just release this split pea soup
as if he was
as if he was vomiting, and the split pea soup would go all over the tandem master's face, and you'd go out of the plane and
you give them problems in free fall too. A non-compliant passenger.
Oh yeah. So instead of having your feet and knees together with your feet back, we'd go out of the plane just with your feet straight out in a pike to try to get them unstable on the exit. And
I used to always do the same thing. I would tell the guy who was the tandem master, like, "Hey, the straps are a little bit tight. Just crouch down here just for a second," because they're supposed to hold you up. And as soon as they would take the weight off, I would dump underneath them and then lift them up on top of me.
and then
just
leave.
fucking cartwheel out of there.
And then leave the plane. Yeah, and leave the plane. Yeah.
And I would like be bent over, and they're like, and we would just And you're never supposed to bring your hands in front of students, and they do. And I would just fucking grab a hold of their hands. Yeah.
It was so funny because like that was actually part of the jump brief. Like, okay, emergency procedures. All right, you're down at the bottom end, and you reach in, and your passenger grabs your left arm. What are you going to do? You're like, just release the drogue here, or because they all the rigs are meant to release the drogue from the right and left. You can cut away from the right and left. And anyway, so we do all these things, and we'd actually do it in free fall where they would go in, because at the bottom end of the free fall, you're supposed to put the passenger back into position 1, position 2. And every single time they'd tap you, position 1, and they'd reach down, and every time just grab one of their arms and go, all right, dude.
Which is exactly why you don't fucking bring your arms in front of the student.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So every time, like, grab an arm and like, all right, dude. And then you're hoping, like, I hope he goes for a secondary. Wow. But
I was always paying attention to my altimeter when they did that.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So I want just a question I had was, when you guys are training, when you're like SEALs and you're training tandem, is that like if you're jumping indigent or you're
So it would be equipment.
Yep.
It could be rucksacks. It could be, you could jump in a mortar tube and rounds.
Right.
Whatever you want to fill in the tube, as long as you're in the weight requirements, cool. And then just think of somebody who would be an enabler or an asset who isn't free fall qualified.
Yeah. Yeah. Like most of the time as an interpreter.
Yeah.
Did you guys jump a lot with interpreters?
I have a few experiences.
I was going to ask, you must get some fucking stories about that.
He's got a good one. He jumped a Terp into
Eastern Afghanistan.
Yeah. And dude, probably
it was horrendous. It was the worst jumping experience.
I can't believe the guy didn't have a heart attack.
Well, he was just shitting himself.
So think about this. So Andy takes, and I'll let you tell the story. But this. So Andy, like, they're going to jump into this target, and this Terp, like, total indigenous guy, Afghan dude. And imagine showing up, and you're like, okay, cool, I'm going on an airplane ride, and next thing you know,
and his little hat and his sandals,
he's got this harness on, and the ramp opens up. The ramp opens up, and there's just nothing but red lights.
Yeah,
and the ramp opens is completely
this is night jump
blackout. Oh yeah.
Oh, he started throwing up about 20 minutes before the ramp came down, so we got him on oxygen.
Completely black, like the back of the ramp. He's just jumping out of the plane.
He's never been in a plane, mind you. It's fucking the middle.
He's strapped
of the
to this dude, jumping into the blackness. And,
he's only ridden donkeys his whole life, and now he's like,
it was fucking wild.
And they're like, "Hey, so you got the Terp," and every single tandem master.
I was the only one who was, I think, qualified to do it.
Every single tandem master, like, will tell you, I would rather jump a bundle all day long than a passenger. I'd rather jump a 400 to 500 pound barrel at night on nods in the middle of nowhere than I will a passenger any day, because the passenger, you don't have to talk to the bundle. The bundle's going to calm it down. The bundle's going to leave the plane just the same way every time. Yep. Just up to you to get it out correctly. Passenger, you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what you're going to get. You're going to get.
They can have a lot of impact on how your day goes too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is like doing it. I don't know how people, drop zones do tandems for a living. It's just such a rough line of work. Andy and I have both done it, but I think the majority of our tandems are just taking like friends or family.
That's all I'll do now. Yeah. I have no interest in going and just hucking drogues at a DZ.
No, absolutely.
No, nothing against people who are doing that full time, but I'm just at this point, hard pass.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I'd rather just go fly helicopters at this point.
Yeah.
What's your dream helicopter?
412.
Why that one?
What's that? It's not a 60, bro. It's not a black.
Pull up a Bell 412, Michael.
It's just
4 blades?
4-bladed.
Fuck yeah.
It's a 4-bladed Huey.
Okay.
Twin engine. And it's just
Huey, like the ones in Vietnam?
Yeah, that with 4 blades and the ones in Vietnam.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That's my
I know both of you are probably
if I don't have a budget, that's what I'm getting.
I feel like it's super cheap.
Yeah. I mean, it's not.
So what's that bird go for? A couple $100,000?
I mean, well, you got to ask yourself, is it going to be new or used?
Yeah.
New has got to be over double-digit millions, right?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
You wouldn't go for a Black Hawk?
No.
Why?
1.5 million to 11 million. So there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, 11.
You're right.
Yeah.
So a new one's 11 million and a used one.
So a Hawk is 11 million?
That
you can
Bell
buy a Black Hawk
412
for 350 grand, and then you got to put $2 million into it.
Yeah, Michael, Google in there, what does a Black Hawk cost? And then we'll put together a GoFundMe.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll be able to raise a couple $100.
15 million to 40 million.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're not cheap. But, you buy a surplus one. I mean, I liked your idea, Steve. You just go to Afghan and fucking steal
I remember that. I forget the TV show.
Dude, that'd be a great reality show, wouldn't it?
I mean, you'd have to get that fucker across the border and refuel, but I'm down for that.
Yeah.
We had a TV show. It was like called, I think it was called Echo 3. But we had a Hawk out there, and I believe the blade hour rate was $6,000.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. That's actually cheap.
And that they did, whether the thing flew or not, they did
minimums.
They did like I think a 4-hour minimum or something like that
Yeah.
per day, whether it flew or not. Just
what we
sitting
had-
there on the deck.
That's what we had on the
$6,000 an hour.
C-130 that Steve and I rented for a few hours.
Dude, I'm so glad you posted that picture. It's hilarious, man. Like,
Fuck.
that was good times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Steve
we did
and I in a C-130, multiple lifts, 10 grand an hour.
yeah, and we just him and I in it.
Yeah, totally.
And
that was it. We were the only two
It was
jumpers.
ridiculous. Yeah, with our sport rigs and
You had a C-130 just for the two of you.
yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
Smaller plane wouldn't
So
do?
We didn't want a small.
no, well, no.
We
It
were doing
was
a commercial. It was for
It
Rogue
was
Fitness.
Steve with Rogue. He's like, no, it's got to be a C-130. Because when Andy hit me up, he's like, hey, do you want to do this commercial? I was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. Of course, the answer is always yes, no matter what it is. And I'm like, dude, does he really want to rent a C-130? And he's like, yep, he absolutely wants a C-130. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
So we had our guys up down there in Phoenix who basically, when I was running the tandem course,
I wonder if most people know, how big a C-130 is. It's
It's-
if you're not a
They
military
would probably
person-
recognize it, but I don't
Yeah.
like the relative scale of having only two people back there jumping is just ridiculous.
Well, you
It's
can fit an
like-
infantry. I think you fit how many people can fit a
Probably 50 people minimum.
Yeah.
in a C-130?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think it might even be more. In like a
dude, you could put
You'll cube
you
out
could-
before you wait out.
You could
Yeah.
put 100 people in the back of that thing. No problem. I mean, no problem.
I mean, it's a massive 4-engine turbo prop.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to put APCs in them.
It's
Yeah.
perfect for two jumpers.
it's very roomy.
Our climb rate was robust.
very robust. Like literally, we take off and the crew guy's like 4 minutes. Like, all right, yeah, we're going to 13.
They'd be like, "Hey, we're still on the runway." He's just like,
Totally.
"Yeah,"
And it was just like,
Because we flew out of Phoenix and we were jumping in Coolidge, so it was basically just a straight shot. So the guy's just climbing, and we were already at altitude, like way before we even over Coolidge.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was freaking.
Have you-
dude? Remember that time? So we landed in Coolidge. So check this out. So
"Even that guy yelled at you."
yeah, so literally we're jumping into the Coolidge, and at the time,
what's that?
it's an airfield.
Oh, yeah,
it's an
yeah.
airfield, and it's not a private airfield. Like Coolidge is,
It's public.
it's a public airfield.
Yep.
So, I called up the guy that ran CPS, and I was like, "Hey, bro, we're jumping in there," and Andy and I are coming in. And he's like, "Yeah, whatever, no problem." Well, what he didn't do is he didn't pass on the information to the guys that worked there running military jump courses. So Andy and I are boom, fly over the top. We open up, and I'm under my whatever, VK. I think I was jumping at 79, 89, whatever. So I land on the drop zone, and this dude comes running out. Man, I think it was Mike, but I knew these dudes. All these guys worked for me in the basic course or the tandem course. And I run out and I have my helmet on because I have my video helmet on because I was videoing Andy. And I land, he runs out, he's screaming at me. Doesn't know who I am yet. Doesn't know who I am. He's screaming at me. And I've got my helmet on, and there's a sticker on the side. It's on the side of my helmet that he recognizes. And he's like, "Steve?" And I pop my helmet off. I'm like, "Hey, what's up, bro?" And he's like, "What the fuck? What? Where'd you come from?" And I was like, "An airplane, dumbass." And then Andy lands, right? Andy lands, and he's like, "What the fuck? What's going on?" I'm like, "Dude, I called Freddie, man. He didn't tell you?" He goes, "No, nobody told me shit, man." I was like freaking out. Who the fuck is this landing in my drop zone? Yeah, but he was like, "Oh, what are you fucking guys doing?" But it was hilarious. We just out of the blue, we're talking in the middle of the desert. Coolidge is in the middle of nowhere between Tucson and Phoenix, and it's just this. Nobody jumps there except for those dudes.
Yeah.
So when we were next thing you know, this dude landing under a 90 square foot parachute, and he's like, "What is happening right now.
Yeah.
And they weren't even working that day, so he was really freaked out about it. But,
seemed to work out okay.
Yeah.
I think that was a good expenditure of somebody else's money.
Yeah. And he's like, "What are you guys jumping on?" I'm like we got a C-130. He goes, "A what?" I go, "Yeah, we got a C-130." Yeah.
What?
Oh, this is it.
Is this you guys?
That's me, yeah.
Yeah. This is the.
Yeah, it's basically just over the top of the desert. Yeah. But yeah, that's the.
There it is.
That's
There it
it.
is.
For anybody who's able to watch
that thing.
I would say we were maxing it out for jumpers. For jumpers, safety and comfort, that's maximum. We couldn't have any more.
Who is that?
That's me.
Oh.
Who is that?
No, I recognize the face.
You don't
with the
recognize
helmet
him?
Yeah, we did 2 jumps.
Yeah.
Yep.
on. And are you videoing, Steve?
Steve is videoing, yep. There's some cool pictures of him hanging out off the back. We don't need to watch the whole video, Michael.
Yeah, it was fun. That was a fun
hysterical,
project.
2 of you in a C-130.
That was yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
We loved it.
yeah, it was fucking amazing. So what do you guys want to do with Dark Desert Defense? I mean, right now you guys are doing shooting courses. Walk me through the suite of what you guys offer. So level 1, introduction. Mm-hmm. What else you guys got?
So, let me back up a little bit. When we first started it, we were pretty much, our clientele was just one-on-one. Mm-hmm. Usually more people like a little high net worth because of the price. So we were training guys that it was all one-on-one, and our level 1 course was basically like 6 hours of training. And then we started getting a lot of interest, but I think we're just playing around with our price point. So we were like, hey, let's start doing groups. So we did a pilot course about a month ago. And then, so now we're kind of gearing up towards doing like groups. And because I think mainly just because our price point, we weren't getting a whole lot of volume. Mm-hmm.
And the other thing too is like, you know, and Steve knows, but that whole train the trainer concept, like we pair people up. So, you can learn a lot from doing, but you also can learn a lot from watching, right? So what we do is we pair people up and we say, okay, we're going to be standing next to this person, but you're also going to critique them as well.
Like shooting buddy.
Like a shooting buddy, and so they work together. And then it gives us also the opportunity to create some unique environments which apply a little bit of pressure, like one of the drills we do. We basically, and this is one we did in the military, but basically we line everyone up at the end of the day and we say, okay, like there's 6 steel targets. The first person shoots that target, and the second person can't shoot their target until the first person hits their target.
Okay.
But then the second person only gets 1 shot. If they miss it, everybody moves down 1 target. The person who's on the last target goes to the front. Right. So if you're the last guy and everybody hits their target, if you missed,
I would miss that shit intentionally.
Yeah. And then everything rotates around. So, that now they're hyper focused, right? Because when you're shooting in a line and everybody's shooting, you kind of fuck off a little bit, or
you're in your own world.
You're in your own world. Now, not only is everybody watching you, but they're relying on you. Now it's a team effort. So it enabled us to sort of create these environments by doing multiple people, and you really get sort of a camaraderie.
I like it.
And we found it works really, really well. As long as we don't put husbands and wives together, works great. Yeah, it's true, dude. It's so true. So fucking true. So and what we've sort of started to find now is that by creating these things and adding some competitiveness to it, and Steve, I've done a lot of things with Steve. One of the Steve set up this dirt bike ride where we pre-ran the Baja 1000 on motorcycles. We did like 1,400 miles on dirt bikes through fucking Baja in 7 days. And it's funny, because I come from a military background, but all these other guys don't. So, I could tell like every day Steve was just making it a little bit harder and a little bit longer and a little bit harder and a little bit longer.
That's the key, though. Progressive resistance is the key. Mm-hmm. You can overwhelm anybody at anything.
Yeah.
Those are the best coaches, the ones that always get you right that you fail a little bit and then you're like, okay, you feel better about it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And there were like that on that ride, for example, when the very last day when we were riding into La Paz, that was almost a 300-mile day.
Yeah.
That's a long day on a fucking
And we're talking
off-road.
And we're talking like mostly 2-track off-road, like the 1,000 course, which it's gnarly. It's rocky, it's sandy.
I know. I've
shit.
gotten satellite telephone calls from people on those fucking courses.
Yeah. That was the one. That was one where my boy got paralyzed. surprised. Literally was on the phone, sat phone with Andy, like, dude, can you get...
I'm trying to fucking spin up like international air response.
I'm like 800 miles south of the border, just south of San Ignacio, and I need medevac down here. And Andy's like, okay, let me see what I can do. I'll call you back. But
then he didn't answer.
But yeah, so for example, the last day, like, I had a buddy of mine that was sweeping for me, and dudes are just melting down. Like, fucking Steve this and fucking Steve that, and this is like the Baton Death March, death ride down here, and all this shit. But here's the thing: at the end of the day, like, we finally got to La Paz. Dudes are like, like you were saying, like, guys are like patting themselves on the back, like, and that sucked, but it was so awesome.
And it was.
It has to suck for it to be awesome.
Yeah.
And what he did, which I thought was super fucking smart, is he like, there's this one section, I don't know where it is, but it's literally 4-foot sand whoops for 66 fucking miles, right? So
done by Constitution.
Yeah, it's just brutal, but it's right next to a road, so you can just quit.
You can bail out anytime you want.
So when you're in the military, and they're like, and the DS staff are like, dude, you don't have to carry on. Fuck, it's
just get on the road.
Just get on the truck.
Just slap it
No one's
down.
going to think any
Just
less.
ring it 3 times.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
No one's. You guys have your version of it. We had we had our version of it. They'd just be really not. These are people that are screaming at you for months. Now all of a sudden they're like your best friend. Dude, no one's going to worry. No one's going to think less of you. Just fuck it on the truck. Just go home, live the easy life. And so he set that up, and it was. Because that makes it even now more of a struggle. Because if like, hey, I got to go through I just got to get through it no matter what, and that's that. But if I can just ride 300 yards that way, and I'm on a tar seal road, and I can just cruise, and so that added even more pressure to it.
But then they're like, well, what are the guys going to think of me?
Yeah.
Right. So
That's
there's the peer
pussy.
pressure. So we get down, we're like probably only 30 miles out from La Paz, but we're taking we're on the off-road course, and it's probably one of the gnarliest sections, and the sun is just going down, and we're basically doing a road crossing, just like Genghis was saying, where you could take the road out, basically like 5 miles, hang a right, and you're in La Paz in like freaking 20 minutes, or jump on the off-road course, and it's another hour and a half into La Paz, but you're taking the man route, or you're taking the pussy route, right? Yeah. And so we get to this spot, and guys are like, "Oh, cool!" So everybody shows up at the road crossing. I'm waiting for everybody. Everybody shows up at the road crossing. They're like, "Yeah, we're just gonna slap it down." And I'm like, "All right, you guys ready? Cool." I'm like, "All right." So I cross the road, jump on the course, take off, and they're like, dudes are like, now they instantly hate my guts.
They're just emotionally broken.
Exactly. They're like, "Oh my gosh, like, why can't we take the road and just go like it?" And I'm like, "Dude, this is the ride, bro. Like, yeah, you could take the road if you want, but like all the men are taking the course. Like we're riding, dude, we're dirt bike riding, bro. This isn't a street bike ride." But it was cool because when we finally got into La Paz that night, got to the hotel, guys were just like, patting themselves on the back because they're like, "Yeah, I did. I rode the whole thing, man.
I wanted to because I fucking had to."
Yeah.
No, I actually, ironically, nobody's asked me to do another ride.
Chuck.
I have been saying we have to do another ride, but yeah, it's
yeah, of course you have, but
I think when I think especially when you're retired, I'm sure you feel this like when you've left the military, like one of the things, there's just that, how when you're doing something and it's fucking hard and you know it's not going to be fun and you're going to be miserable and all that, but once you've got
I had a great time.
Yeah, I had a great time on. I actually had a great time on that ride, but that there's a certain sense of achievement you get by blasting through a barrier.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Making yourself uncomfortable.
Yeah, make it, like he says it all the time. He's right. Like just reaching that level of uncomfortableness where you want to quit and pushing through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure you guys see it. I mean, where everybody shows up for a course and everybody's sort of sizing everybody else up. And it's usually the guys that everybody thinks are going to breeze through it who are the guys that don't.
Yeah.
And it's the guys that everybody think will be gone the first day that are there at the end,
You feel that in jiu-jitsu too. The guys that you look at, like this dude is bigger, stronger, like he's just going to crush everybody, they fucking mentally break. And the fucking nerd accountant assassin that you would never think would just be folding people in half, you're looking over there like, okay, all right, Yeah, it's the ones that you don't think are going to be the performers that shock you more often.
Unsuspecting.
Than not. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, the accountant assassins are fucking real, dude, in jiu-jitsu.
You must see a lot, like, right? So you see a lot of, like, I used to teach martial arts, but, you know, you see a lot of, like, you see a lot of that where there's just some people just have it and some people don't. And you think,
but we're not all created equal.
Yeah.
I know everybody wants to live in this world where we can all do the same things. And I hate to tell everybody, but that's not the world we live in.
No.
Some people can learn faster than others. Some people have attributes. You might have had a chance of playing in the fucking NBA. Guess what? I don't.
Yeah.
Michael never will. He'll never be a professional in any sport of any kind because he's just not athletic.
Absolutely not.
Those are the cards you're dealt. You can be an academic who plays chess instead of doing security at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
I mean,
And sit on the couch.
Yes, with his fucking feet up. The last time I was in there, I caught him doing that. Yeah, it's not an equal playing field.
Yeah.
And I wish it was. I have more respect, though, for the people who stick with it, who aren't naturals, than the naturals who can just kind of crush and dominate everybody else.
I think, you know, I was raised under this thing. It's better to have tried and not succeeded than to have succeeded without trying, you know?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who don't try a lot of things.
Yeah.
Probably just because of the social optic of failure.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I think that's true probably of all of us to some degree. But if people are feeling that, fuck that, man. I say lean into that thing that's making you feel that way a little bit.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I've mentored a couple of young entrepreneurs. And
what does that even mean?
Just like,
can anybody be an entrepreneur? What if you just want to call yourself an entrepreneur for social media?
The way that I explain being an entrepreneur is there are two kids, right? And they both climb a tree. And their goal is they're going to fly. And one kid jumps out, flaps his arms, and he fucking crashes to the ground in a heap. And he says, fuck that, that's not going to work. And the other kid, he just keeps going until he flies. And
just keeps climbing and climbing.
And climbing until he figures out how to fly.
Yeah.
And the entrepreneur is the kid that keeps climbing and climbing until he figures out how to fly. You know, they're usually not very good academically. You know, they don't fit well into a traditional academic role, but they just don't quit. You know, people say to me, well, how many things have you failed at? And I'm like, fucking tons of things.
Yeah.
They
always want to focus on the wave tops, and they forget all the valleys that are in between that actually make you capable of appreciating the wave tops.
Yeah. If you take a failure as a lesson,
Yeah.
as a lesson in getting to the next level, that's what I think is the best way to do it.
I think so too.
You know?
How big do you guys want to make the company? Triple D, if you will. I mean, I think we should announce now some summer courses in the Montana area.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, we were just talking about that today, and that's one of the issues we deal with in Vegas, obviously, because...
Is it traditionally warm there in the summer?
Yes, it is.
Dude, you fucking sweats in Vegas.
I don't understand how.
Actually, you don't sweat because it evaporates before it even comes out of your body. Yeah. So it's...
But why? Why does anybody live there in the month of June, July, or August?
Dude, I'm building a house in Utah, so I don't have to.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I think a lot of the people do.
But
the reverse snowbird.
I mean, I personally, it doesn't bother me. I like the heat. But, you know, when you're out there trying to train clients and it's 110 degrees out, you know, the level of concentration only lasts for about maybe an hour, the most.
Yeah,
and then
level of diminishing returns, right?
Yeah. So. Then people are just, all they think about is how hot it is. And it's kind of like the winter, too. You know, you're in the winter. We just did a course last week, and a beginner level 1 course. And, you know, we were purposely taking breaks like every hour and a half just to get people back in the house and like get warmed up. Yeah. You know, refocus, because if they're on the range and they're freezing and it's cold, all they can think about is like, I can't feel my hands. It's cold out here. It's windy. It's so, you know, this is crazy. So we purposely would, you know, take breaks to let people get warm, refocus, and then get back out on the range again and shoot. But that group in particular, they were freaking awesome.
That was really good.
Best, great attitude.
How far will you guys go with it? Like you say, I mean, there's people who want to just be proficient on a range, right?
So,
understanding, but like, what if somebody wants to go all the way through like fucking vehicle tactics or
we have
that type of stuff?
We shoot through windshields. We'll do.
Okay. We have clients that do that. Yeah. Like we have some clients that are hardcore.
So it's a little bit more of a buffet. Menu.
It's like, how far do you want to go? And you know, and we say like
the Jason Bourne package.
Totally. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Or Janet Bourne. I don't want to misogynistic here.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know what the fluid fucking version of that.
We used to actually, with my gun range, we had a bond package, and we had a hot girl pick you up in an Aston Martin and then drive you to get a custom suit fitted, which had a hidden knife pocket in the sleeve.
First off, why'd you get rid of this program?
We couldn't sell the fucking thing, which surprised
awesome.
me. Like I thought we should sell shit of it, we didn't, and then we build them a custom gun and everything, and then we teach them to shoot it. So it was like this whole thing. But to Steve's point, like Steve's kind of designed it so that it's prerequisites, because the problem is that you do like a Jason Bourne package, and you get someone show up and they've never held a gun and they want to be Jason Bourne. I'm like, nah, you got to start somewhere. So you can't do our level 2 until you do our level 1, and it's not because we're trying to scam you out of more money. It's because you need those fundamentals before we can take you to the next level.
Also,
in the helicopter world, like, so for example, you guys can relate, right? You're not going to, like, in the first week, you're not going to be able to learn how to fly a helicopter and then do backflips in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
not all students.
Not voluntarily.
So, it's you got to put the time in to get to that level. And we have clients that are absolutely, we've done that with, like, some of, like, one of my great friends. Like, I've been training him for over 3 years now, and I took him from literally never holding a gun before. Now he's, doing transitions to long gun, and he's just like, great. Yeah, awesome. So people like that, like, they get a passion for it, and then they pursue it, just like jiu-jitsu or
precision rifle stuff. Do you do long range shooting?
Yep. So we have a range go out to a mile.
Yeah, nice. we've had clients that are like, hey, listen, we just want to do all long gun stuff. We've built their guns for them. Came up, like, taught them how to zero the guns, ran them through basically a real quick, a 2-day down and dirty sniper course.
Yeah.
And I think a long-term goal for us too, one of the things that we've always wanted to do is to actually create a platform that we can take, like, because I think one of the reason I started my nonprofit is that I was seeing a lot of veterans were getting out of the service, and they have these amazing skills, like the skills you guys have, right? Like it's not like, well, I can kick indoors, I can, jump out of planes, I can, drive a submersible vehicle outside of a submarine. How do I use that shit in a civilian world?
You don't.
Yeah. Right. So
you serve coffee.
Part,
you pour coffee over or water over coffee grinds and mix it with some milk. Like, here you fucking go.
But what we could do is we could take ex-military guys who have some confidence with firearms, and we could teach them to be instructors under our program, and give them a clear, concise, formatted program of learning, and they can go and start their own businesses, and we'll help them do that. And so that's, for me, that's an end goal, is to
underneath our business.
Yeah, underneath our business
That's
model.
a cool little idea. They're helping people with something they're passionate about.
Yeah.
I mean, I can say this for myself personally too. I mean, there's a lot of things I'm passionate about, but have no fucking clue how to make it something that would be sustainable from a business perspective.
Right.
Like the helicopter stuff we're talking about. Like, I love it, and I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But I'm going to really fuck it up along the way somehow. But I will figure out a way to at least have a net zero cost helicopter that I can fly.
Right. Right.
How, I don't know.
Right.
I'm going to have to climb that tree a few times.
Mm-hmm. But our sort of thought process is if we can have, like, there's a guy from Chicago and he's an ex-veteran, and he wants to start a little school and he wants to run a course every weekend, and we'll train him how to do that, and he'll come out and we can sort of set that up. So that's kind of one of our big goals, is to do that.
Kind of like, essentially just, have the company, like, U.S. wide, like have these courses that veterans can, own, and they can run their own courses, and it's kind of like
and we just give them the platform.
Give them the platform, we give them the curriculum and everything else, and they just run it, and under our curriculum,
under the Triple D banner.
Yeah,
exactly.
Which Steve has tirelessly written, but he told me about these TSCs that you guys would use, right? And I thought to myself, TCSs, sorry.
Task Condition Standards.
The Task Condition Standards. And he would, and I said, imagine if we could create something that, I think jiu-jitsu is an example, right? You guys have this system, and you have a belt system. And in that system,
what's interesting, though, is that the belt system is very different at different gyms. I've asked every black belt coach that I've ever met, walk me through your white to black criteria. It's fucking different.
Really?
Yes. There is you cannot go online and find a white belt to black belt journey or curriculum. This is what you have to do to be a blue belt. Purple belt, brown belt, black belt. It is, there is a lot of overlay, like there's a Venn diagram overlay for sure, but I have yet to get the same answer out of the probably close to 50 black belt coaches I've asked at this point.
Right. So that's interesting, because what we want to do is the opposite of that. We want to say, to go from level 1 to level 2, these are the standards. You have to be able to draw.
Skill sets on a firearm are a little bit more objective. They're, like, size and strength matters in jiu-jitsu. Not really much with a pistol. You know what I mean? Like
No.
you're either hitting the target or you're not.
Yep.
Your shot timer is doing this or not. And a lot of what I'm saying, I'm repeating what my wife says because she knows a lot more about fucking jiu-jitsu than I do. Because she teaches the evening class. She'll be teaching tonight, and it's a mix of men and women, diverse backgrounds, from professionals who just want to do jiu-jitsu in the evening to get some exercise, to young kids who think they're the next Conor McGregor. And a young athletic kid is going to beat, like a young athletic white belt who's in their 20s is probably going to beat a middle-aged purple belt who doesn't have an athletic background. Mm-hmm. But does that mean the white belt should be a purple belt? It doesn't. It means that their size and strength and probably aggression is, you know what I mean? There's this meshing where, like, that's where the subjectivity comes in. And in talking with her, it's like, yeah, that doesn't matter. What matters is how does that white belt do when somebody who is his age, his background, his belt, his time in, that's when you can really see it. So the art form is, though, a lot of times that person doesn't exist in that class. Mm-hmm. So you have to watch this person's development and figure out how they're doing against other people with all that diverse background and experience, and then grade them upon that. It's interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
and some people it takes, I mean, they say an average journey to black belt is somewhere between 10 to 12 years, and for other people it's 5 to 6. So it depends on how you can learn.
Well, I mean, kind of the same thing with shooting, right? Like, I mean, for example, like my son Jay, like I have very, very limited time I've spent with him, like actually training him. Of course I have, I've done it. But like he made such a leap in like a year and a half. And it's because of his dry firing. And he literally went from like being an okay shooter, and now like he can outshoot my clients that I've been shooting with for 3 to 4 years. And he outshoots them. And I spend a fraction amount of time with him. And it's just, and I'm sure it's probably the same with jiu-jitsu. Like some people pick it up a lot faster than others.
You and I know this from teaching a lot of people. Not everybody learns at the same rate.
Exactly.
And our old job rewarded the ability to learn quickly. And that actually, it upsets people. My journey was a little bit faster than most people's. And, and here's the key to learning. Do exactly what you're fucking told and nothing else.
Exactly.
So when they say, hey, put your hand here, I go, like, every time? And they say yes. I'm like, okay, I'll just put my hand there. I'm not going onto YouTube to research a fucking video of, well, what happens if I put my hand over here?
Yeah.
What if I go like this and make a fucking duck? What if I can make a duck wing with my, like... My theory is, okay, so you've been doing this a long time. You're the head coach here at the school. You're saying you should always do it like this. Roger that. I'll just do it like that. And focus on the fundamentals.
And that's exactly what... It's interesting because that's exactly what Jay did. Like, and I think... his training came from watching me and doing exactly what I do. And it was funny because this weekend we had one of our clients and she came up to me. She's like, oh my gosh, I just watched your son do this drill. And she goes, he moves exactly like you do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, exactly like you do.
Yeah, it's because you model that behavior for
him. Yeah, exactly. And then he just dry fires his ass off, which... usually, none of our clients.
No, and that's what we say to people: like,
dry fire, and they're like,
dude,
sure.
It's fundamentals. It's not flashy moves.
Exactly.
I didn't have any offense for probably the first 2 or 3 years. Leah was my first coach. I was doing. She was teaching the foundations course at the time, and I was traveling a ton, so I would do private lessons. And I asked her when we started, I was like, just teach me from the absolute worst positions uphill from there. Mm-hmm. So it was all fucking defense. Which sucks because you're just getting fucking smashed for a long time. But then eventually you have a defense that's really hard for people to deal with. Yeah. And then you can start experimenting because it doesn't matter if you get into a bad position. You're like, oh, I know what to do if I'm here. And then you start fucking people up. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm talking about.
That's fine. It's interesting because it seems like everything you just like flying a helicopter, anything you do fundamentals. I mean, we teach 5 fundamentals when we're shooting, and they're probably the same 5 fundamentals everybody teaches. But, and then we prioritize those fundamentals, And I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you're not hitting the target, slow down.
Yeah.
Go back to your fundamentals.
Speed doesn't make you more accurate.
No.
Nope. It makes you less accurate. Especially
you just miss the target faster.
Especially if you don't have the fundamentals down and you try to go faster. Like I always tell people, like, listen, I don't care about your speed. I care about you actually hitting the target.
Accuracy is final. I don't care how fast you can miss me. Yep. I will take another quarter of a second, let the sight settle, and blow your fucking face.
Exactly. Right. And that's what I tell them. Like, hey, listen, if you're in a gunfight, if you miss... That's not good.
Yeah, and also don't get in a gunfight. Avoid it. Largely avoidable.
Yeah,
but if you're in one, you should probably win.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, that's one of the things I think, like you guys know from just your backgrounds, but it's been really interesting to see that. And we had a friend of mine, Christine, she was out on the course this weekend. And I mean, you just see these people excel. Like she's just a natural shooter.
Yeah.
Like, she's just.
Yeah, it's impressive.
You just, everything you tell her to do, she does.
Yeah.
And it's this, attractive girl with nails and everything. She doesn't look like a shooter. She just listens. And it does exactly what you just said. Okay, Genghis, you want me to put my hand there? I'm going to put my hand there, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to
That's why
question
females are so easy to teach.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael, how much YouTube shit do you watch jiu-jitsu?
Not a lot.
How long have you been
honestly.
training now?
5 years.
Yeah, so Michael's a purple belt, probably knocking on the door of his brown belt. Yeah, and we roll all the time. And he's very, very good at jiu-jitsu. And I would not describe your game as flashy.
No, especially after going to that seminar with you guys, Henry's, and then just rolling with you a lot.
It's the opposite of flashy.
Yeah, it's literally just pressure.
I just lay on people.
Yeah.
They're like, I mean, why? What? Here's the goal: only one person can be comfortable, which is going to be me. Why? How about I make you carry all of my weight at all times, and it just wears the fucking person down.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost me much. And they come, even if they get out of that position, they're so, because they have to explode and they're like writhing down there to get out. And then you can let them out a little bit, just to toy with them emotionally, because you should break them emotionally before you submit them. But it's wild. The best jiu-jitsu I've ever seen is not flashy and dynamic. It's the application of weight and angles and pressure, and it fucking cooks the people underneath. They can try all this flashy shit, and it's just there's 2 energy bars. And your goal is to keep your energy bar up here while theirs is just diminishing.
Yeah.
So
Just burning fuel.
yeah, it's literally like, well, I'll just take my knees off the ground, so you're carrying all of my weight. Little things like that. If you're rolling with somebody and your knees are on the ground, you're applying less pressure, so they have more chance to recover. Well, it doesn't cost me anything to put my weight on you, so let's just do that because that sucks more for you.
And like Steve said, and like you actually brought up too, for us, I think the big thing now for us too is traveling. Like what I'm noticing is like there are a lot of people in California who want to do our course, and there's people in Arizona who want to do our course.
There's people everywhere, and you can combine it with destination type stuff. I mean, there's
That's
so
what you
much
were saying
cool shit
today.
to do in California as well. I mean, Steve and I both lived in SoCal for an extended period of time. I mean, you'd have to get away from the areas that we lived more up like towards the Tahoe area and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, up here, like literally 30 minutes, Glacier National Park, the largest freshwater lake west of the Mississippi, down in Flathead, Canadian border's 60 miles away, Idaho's Coeur d'Alene's 3.5. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And there's 4 legit seasons, and there's activities for all 4 of them. So just go to town.
That's why Steve and I were saying today I think we're going to move all our summer courses here. Yeah. We'll just like be here for 3 or 4 months.
I like it.
Yeah, and we'll just run our summer courses out of Kalispell because number one, it's a destination. People want to come here. Yeah. It's gun friendly. That's one thing that's a challenge about California.
Very gun friendly.
It's very gun friendly.
I'm not interested in going to California.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do it, but
I was born and raised there, and I don't want to go there.
No. I mean, we're lucky we have access to a great range there. Which
everything gun related there is just such a fucking nightmare.
I don't see it getting any better either.
No. But so for us, like I think that's a big part of it too. Now is just like we said to you, we'll just roll up here and we'll post up here for 3-4 months, and like the summer's here, fantastic, right? Yeah. So like that's one of the problems with Vegas. It's fucking like 120 degrees.
A hot day up here in the summer. Mike, what do you think? Peak summer,
like high 90s, maybe
for about
100.
a week. It'll be in the 90s, but it's not like the Vegas 90s. And honestly, it's usually in the 80s.
Yeah, it's like California 90s.
Like, dude, remember when you came up for the wedding in August? Fucking picture-esque, white, puffy postcard cloud. Like that's the shit you're gonna get.
Yeah, and nice. We're out there in a full suit, and it's just comfortable. It's just comfortable.
Yeah.
And we
in flip flops, of course.
Yeah, obviously.
And so that's what we think.
Leah didn't believe me when I was asked.
I remember him telling me.
Yeah.
I remember.
I was like, wait, flip flops? He's like, yeah, suit and the flip flops. I was like, awesome. That's
Leah was looking like, really? I was like, yeah. I mean, they're really cool flip flops, but yeah. Oh yeah, and then you ran into AG at some dive store. He said,
yeah, totally, dude. I went in there like Jay and I were out with scuba diving. And my son Jay was scuba diving. I was returning some tanks, and I had those flip flops on, and I was at the counter, and the guy's like, "Those are cool flip flops," and I looked at him, and I looked down, and he had the same ones on. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, they're cool. And he's like, you were at Andy's wedding, weren't you? And I was like, I'm looking at this dude now. I'm like, who the fuck are you, bro? And he's like, yeah, I own the company. I'm like, no shit.
Yeah.
Cool. So we start bullshitting and he's like, yeah.
He runs them out of Vegas. The company's
Yep.
based right out of Vegas. That's
Yep.
cool.
So I was like, oh yeah, these things are freaking awesome, man. It was good to go.
No, that was I remember him showing me the shoes. Yeah.
They're like what, $600 a pair?
Those ones were, I think he just sold a couple pair that were about $2,500.
Gee, what?
Yeah, like white alligator with like some gold shit on there. I don't know.
Yeah. I lost mine and I think I lost them in Arizona.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I'll get you another pair. What size shoe are you?
11.
No, you're not.
12. Well, I'm at 11, but
Hold on.
the ones I ordered, my shoe size right now is 11. But when I ordered them, I'm like, hey,
Women's 11 or men's?
you didn't answer that question. But yeah, because I like them. I like flip flops.
Yeah,
I usually go a size up. But
I'll get you another pair. I know a guy.
But no, yeah, cool, sweet, customs. But the cool thing was like all the guys that were at his wedding party, like on mine, it had SSS engraved
triple
in
S
it.
on the
Triple S on the.
Where we've been at it for almost 3 hours. It's awesome. Where can people go to find more information or book you guys?
So our website.
Yep.
It's probably the best place to go, which is your favorite darkdesertdefense.com.
www.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and we have good
website,
Instagram.
You can go right in there. You can look at all the levels. You can look at the course, book it, pay for it, everything.
And we'll have the Montana courses up there within 2 weeks. So,
Which is about when this will come out.
yeah, we'll have it up there in 2 weeks. So we'll make sure that it'll be up there.
But in the meantime, we are doing 2 courses a month.
Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah. So, and all that stuff will be up on our website. And usually we're about like a month or two out as far as when we start putting courses on the calendar. So we're
That makes sense.
a month or two out, just to give people enough time to plan and, so
yeah.
not so last minute.
Plus, we're stoked about coming up here for 3 or 4 months.
How
man.
could you not be?
Oh, we're going to bring dirt bikes, helicopter. It's going to be
fuck
a great.
the dirt bikes. Bring helicopters. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
You can put my dirt bike on the helicopter.
Yeah, I can actually.
That actually would be fun.
Yeah.
That's acceptable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll get you type rated in that thing. So.
I mean, just show me how to turn the thing on.
Yeah,
I got it.
it's actually like turning it on
Yeah.
is literally turning it on is the scariest part of flying that fucking thing.
I got about 1,000 hours of turbine time, so I mean,
You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you got turbine, you know what it's. Well, this is a modulated stat, so you're watching your TOT, you're watching N1 TOT.
Yeah.
And it's funny because people who are new to turbines.
Does it give you just the classic double peak? It comes up, down, and then it spikes again?
So one engine will double peak, one engine won't. In this
I'm going to be
aircraft.
honest with you. I don't even pay attention to that. Just throw the gas at it. Like, it sounds good.
Yeah.
Just give it gas.
I know I stuffed it up. Yeah.
Just kick the tires and light the fires.
Yellow is caution. Red's like, maybe do something about it. Maybe don't. Turbines can they can get a little bit, for people who are new to them.
Yeah.
But once you're used to what you're looking at.
Yeah.
I mean, because honestly, as you know, you're looking at a hot start or a hung start.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's not a whole lot that's going to go wrong. And if you know how to deal with that, you're going to be okay.
Yeah. Most people. Yeah. I mean, like when they're starting, like I'm training a guy to fly 105 next weekend, but he's got 3,000 hours of helicopter time.
Yeah.
He's coming out of a 600N, so the guy knows how to. He knows how to.
He's going
fly.
to be okay.
Yeah, he's going to be just fine. Yeah, I'm just teaching him simple things like how to marry engines and torques and that kind of shit. But
yeah, dude, I need to start going up there with you and flying with you.
Dude, I invite him up. We've planned to go. It just never quite worked out. And we wanted to do stuff like we wanted to start doing
some
more
content stuff like me just basically hucking it out of the helo with my base rig over the top of the drop zone, or excuse me, over the top of the
over
range,
the top of the lake house, which is where we should do that.
Over the range. Oh yeah.
Dude, we could do some great content up there. Hey?
I have like 6 base rigs up there too. Don't need to bring your own. I got all my shit up there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dude. Well, I need to get mine out of the closet.
Don't pack it though. If it's packed, just send it.
You know it.
Surprise.
Of course.
Surprise.
Of course.
Surprise.
I'm like, I don't even know if I got a slider on it. Slider up, slider down.
Out of the helicopters. So like if you're at, how high is your lake house? What's the height of it? Elevation?
Call it 3,000 feet. It's plus or minus, yeah.
So like if I go to 9,000.
Oh, you could go to 3,500 feet.
Oh, okay.
For Steve and I.
Exactly.
So do you need?
I don't want to go any higher than that.
Like 40 knots. You need me to.
Zero.
You could go zero airspeed. If you're going to go zero speed, maybe we'll take 1,000 feet up just to knock the old rust off. I mean, honestly, in a helicopter, if you were going 50 knots, that would be like the most buttery exit for somebody just stepping off the skids.
Yeah.
If you go zero airspeed, which I love doing that because I know how to deal with it and a lot of people don't. So I can just fucking laugh at them as they're like, ah. Like Tim Kennedy is a good example. He's not good at exiting aircraft that way. But like 50 knots, you would just step off. You'd have a little bit of relative. It'd be like the smoothest transition to vertical.
Yeah, I mean,
Sled her up.
Yeah. Because zero, that thing's not going to do an out of ground effect hover at like 8 or 9,000.
You don't need
and heat. Yeah, but yeah, no, it'd be fun. I'd love to do that. Yeah, have you guys jump out? It'd be fucking bitchin'.
Dude, we could do all sorts of stuff. There's probably a couple 100,000 acres of dirt bike trails right from the house. Literally could land the fucking helicopter right there. Yeah, my buddy, I'll have him bring out his little fuel truck so he can get Jet A right there at the house.
Really? Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
We'll solve all those logistical issues for sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know what I'd like to do actually, if we bring it up?
We just need a Packer to come.
Like if you have local search and rescue, one of the things we do is I do a helo marshalling course.
Yeah.
So you know how a lot of these little towns have like local fire departments?
Yep.
Like it's a volunteer. So we'll go out and we'll land the helicopter out there, and they love it. And then we like teach them how to marshal, and we give them like a little certificate that they're, you know, and little, because they all have like little Velcro patches,
The little Boy Scout badges.
Yeah, like helo marshalling, and people love that kind of shit.
I am shocked at the number of people who are unsafe around helicopters. Clearly that thing is making a lot of noise in certain areas and things are spinning. Why would you approach that?
Yeah.
Where is your basic human survival? Like, my God, that tail rotor looks amazing. Let me go take a real close look at that. The fuck is wrong with you?
Best one is when people are getting in a helicopter and they want to take a photo and jump and throw their hands in.
Totally fine with that. Completely fine with that.
Well,
Natural
dude, remember like
selection.
the PJ courses we were doing, remember? And so we would get out, we'd do hey-hos. So, the guys would get out, open up, and be flying around. Well, by the time they were getting ready to land, our whatever aircraft, fixed-wing aircraft, was taxiing back into the ramp in front of the hangar. And
They're
here we
landing
go.
right in front of it.
And we've got these fucking dudes that are like, overflying like the Otter or something. And like, we get down and do debrief of like, okay, what don't you understand about this aircraft on the ground?
Spinning blender.
Spinning meat blenders. And you just think it's cool. Like, I'm just going to fly right over the top of it. Dude, like, are you serious?
You don't
like,
need to be even remote. It would be like, I'm not an expert in yard maintenance, but I know not to spin my fucking lawnmower over and turn it on and be like, what's in there?
Dude, the number of times I've like had people getting out of a helicopter, and I literally, when they get in the helicopter, I brief them. When they're in the helicopter flying, I brief them. And when I land, I brief them. And I'm literally like, okay, when you get out of the helicopter, think of it, here's 3 o'clock, here's 9 o'clock. You do not want to go anywhere behind 3 or 9. You want to be in front. They get out and walk towards the back.
And every one of your sensors should tell you that from that 3 to 9 o'clock position southward is not awesome.
Yep.
And they send it.
And if you want a photo, don't try and jump up and throw. Girls love this pose where they jump and throw their legs and hands in the air. I'm like, yeah, you're going to lose your fingers. Like
or arms.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And fuck up my rotor blades, which I'm probably more concerned about than your fingers. But
for sure.
Yeah, I remember years ago when matter of fact, I was going through selection command, and they were telling us about there was a couple, like, I went through Green Team in '99, and there was an incident where some green guys were coming off. Actually, they were getting back onto a little bird, and the bird had landed on an angle.
Yeah, pitched roof.
And they were coming up the thing, and because they're on the angle, the rotors were that much lower, and it lopped off like 2 dudes' heads, like right off the bat. Yeah. Approaching, getting back on a lure bird. I was like,
and those are people who used to being around helicopters. You just got it. There's so much going on. I'm sure they were on nods.
At night, on nods, coming up, and they didn't really realize the angle, where it landed. Because
that shit's, I mean, again, I don't have that much helicopter time. That angled landing stuff, holy fuck, dude. Like putting a skid in.
You got to be very aware. Dude, even 47s.
Some of these rescue helicopters, the pictures they have of nosing in on snow, and the rotor is like inches from the fucking snow, and they're rescuing people on the sides.
Oh,
my
dude, God. Yeah, gnarly.
Yeah, no, I remember we were on we were doing an exercise. It was a field exercise, and we had this big Samoan kid. It was an infantry exercise, and he was probably 6'8", and he gets out of the Huey, and he had his helmet on, but thank God he didn't have his chin strap done up. And the blade came down and hit the top of his helmet and knocked it off his head. Fuck. Dude. And, a Huey rotor blade is like, the cord on it's like 24 inches.
Yeah.
It's massive. And he had a concussion, but how he wasn't killed is a miracle. They reckon if his chin strap had been on, it would have
Probably taking his head off.
Yeah, taking his head right off.
Ugh, fuck that. Yeah. On that note, what do you guys want to close out with?
No, man, I'm stoked to be up here in summer flying helicopters and teaching guns. Yeah.
It'll be cool.
Yeah, and
for sure.
you know, like if anyone has questions, someone think, you know, for me or Steve, like I said, like I'm really just the coffee maker. Like I do what Steve tells me to do when it comes to shooting stuff. I mean, so you know, Steve wrote the course and everything like that, so he's probably going to answer most of the questions. But yeah, you know,
we said our favorite clients are the ones that really have never touched a gun before. But you know, we take all kinds. Like if ego's not an issue, then come on. We don't really, you know, we love people that have never touched guns, and we're actually gearing up to do. I think one of our next courses in the near future is going to be female only, just because of the intimidation factor and all that stuff. But
plus, it'll be much easier for us to teach it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's make our job a lot easier.
Yeah.
Not that there's guys out there that are hard to teach, but sometimes, you know, ego gets in the way. But like our last course, we had a pretty good dynamic of male, female, and people who have shot a little bit. One thing that we found is that, you know, you ask somebody's like, hey, you know, have you shot before? And they're like, oh yeah. And then you start getting a little into the details. You're like, okay, so when was that? And they're like, oh, about 7 or 8 years ago. So basically what that translates to is you haven't. And they shot it.
Which is okay.
Their dad's shotgun. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It's not a big deal. And I think people, they sometimes they feel like the answer needs to be yes, they've shot before. And in which case we're not looking for the yes. We're just looking for just the honest answer. And we're hoping that the answer is no.
No.
Like I haven't really shot.
And that's the other thing too. Like we're really honest with someone. Someone comes to us and says, hey, I want to do your course. And the first thing I think is, okay, how much time can you commit to shooting a month? Oh, you know, I'll probably shoot once every 6 months. Just buy a shotgun.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Actually.
You know, because the reality, you know as well as anyone, it's a deteriorating skill if you don't keep it up, right? So that's one of the things we do is we try to tell people, look, if you're not going to shoot. I mean, I just made a gun the other day. It's a Judge with I've got an optic on a Judge, and I just say to people like
revolver, by the way, for those of you.
Yeah, it's a revolver that shoots a 45 long Colt or a 410 shotgun round. But if you want to leave your wife with something like that's not a shotgun where they've got to learn, it's super simple. They just pull it out, get behind the bed, point it at the door. Someone comes through the door, just keep pulling the trigger till it stops going bang.
Till it goes click.
Click, you know. And then you're going to hit something.
Jesus, man. You said it.
Yes.
You said it, man. Nobody fucks with that Jesus. Perfect. I'll pull the trigger till it goes click. Yeah.
You guys ready to get the fuck out of here?
Yeah.
Totally. Right on.
Yep.
Cocktail hour.